NXT Takeover New Orleans. Is it the best takeover ever? That's what we're going to find out today here on SCW. Don't give your answers away that quickly, Silk, although to be fair, it's a subjective question, and I want our chat to get involved as well in this one. But we're going to be reviewing the show from top to bottom, 5 matches in total. If you're unaware of what this show actually gives us, it's the 6-man ladder match. The first ever North American champion in NXT history is determined on this show. We've got the Unsanctioned match, of course, with Johnny Gargano, Tommaso, Ciampa. Who remembers the build of that as well? So epic and so special. And even the moment where Ciampa actually ruined the Avengers movie with spoilers on Twitter, you'll never forget it, ladies and gents. We've got Aleister Black versus Andrade, Cien, Almas for the NXT Championship. And we've also got the Dusty Tag Team Classic finale in a winner-take-all match with the NXT Tag Team titles. And last but not least, we've got the NXT Women's Championship on the line, Ember versus Shayna Baszler. A whole lot to digest and a whole lot more. In fact, so much that I couldn't do this show on my own. In fact, I needed more than just one guest, and they're both sitting here with me. First off, NXSteve in the house. The clue is in the name, NXSteve. How are you, my friend? NXT Takeover is the rewind this month. How are you feeling about it?
Super gassed. I'm going to say this. This is the most perfect WWE pay-per-view ever. Ever. And that's for, if you just look at the quality of matches, you've got something for everyone. You've got a gimmick match, a well-built women's championship match, a fantastic tag team match, a well-built men's championship match, and a blood feud. It's a perfect pay-per-view, regardless of whatever happens in it. It's just perfect, and we're going to go through it all, but it's fantastic, man. I'm good as well.
I don't even need to ask the question and how excited you were when our subscribers voted this show in. Super gassed.
Steve, I'm like, for once, someone listened to me and the gods shone down on me, and I finally got what I've been asking for.
Tino, did you feel that same feeling when you were brought in for this? And big thank you, by the way. First time actually coming on one of the rewinds. Been a while since we've had you on the channel. It's great to have you back. It's Tino's time, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what time zone you're currently in as well. Tino, let us know how you feeling about New Orleans.
Hey, I appreciate you having me back on. You know how much I love watching retro pay-per-views, over on my channel. We sit there and we'll sit through and watch all the matches all the way through, sometimes 3-4 hours. And, so yeah, but I appreciate you having me on. And, I was telling you before we started recording, I went back and rewatched it because I just wanted to refresh my memory. And it was, as Steve said, like just from beginning to end in every match, like I was watching this and I was telling myself, I'm like, I feel like I'm watching like a pay-per-view, like when I was a kid. And I was getting excited for the match and I already knew the outcome of the match. I'm like, I was sitting in my car getting excited. I'm like, why am I getting so excited? And I'm just like, it's just one of those takeovers that like you forget, and we forget why we forget. I was like, we kind of just took it for granted, like how good we had it at this time with like how good they were. And yeah, so I'm excited to talk about it.
We were spoiled, absolutely, with what we've got on this show here. Like we said, a 6-man ladder match. We're going through talents like we mentioned already. Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, the Undisputed Era led by Adam Cole, baby. We've got the likes of Pete Dunne, I mentioned for NXSteve there on the side of me. I know would have been guest being on this show as well. Aleister Black, Andrade, Ember, Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey sitting in the crowd. We've got everything going on this show and much, much more. And what we've got as well, we've got an enthusiastic chat already in the house. Now, I've got to apologize to some of the people already in there was some questions. This is going to be strictly NXT New Orleans based. So if you know about this show, feel free to get involved with the chat. But obviously, with some of the other questions, maybe I'll try and intervene and answer in the chat as the show goes on, but we won't go into those topics specifically. But Roger's in the house. Thank you, Roger, for checking out the stream. Hope you're doing well. Pierre, also here with us today. Hope you're doing well. I will just quickly bring this up. Yes, definitely a match of the candidate. Go and see Will Ospreay versus Mike Bailey if you haven't seen it already. And of course, TNA is back, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe do a TNA retro. Let us know if that's something you would love to see.
There's a whole podcast you can do on just everything that's happened in the last 5 days. I feel like there's too much going on.
There is too much.
Every time you think it slows down, it doesn't. It just ramps back up. It's like, come on.
Absolutely. The thing is, it's not been possible for me to do these videos of the last few days, but I've got to say it's very good to have everybody here with us.
What's up,
Kyle from On the Mark Wrestling Podcast in house there, OTM, and of course Main Event Network as well. Go and check out those channels there. This is quite the crew we have today. Absolutely, indeed. And also we've got Pierre here with a comment just saying with modern times. Sad Bobby Fish not with AEW. That Kyle O'Reilly's injured, and of course we have we could have had all the UE back together. Absolutely, would be a possibility. And we do have CD in house as well. Arena's coming up here. Had a fun time at Collision. He's updated some videos to see where he's sat. Fantastic. We would love to go and do that once we've finished off here. And Eric, I'll answer this question very, very quickly. Not seen Halloween Havoc as of yet, so I can't answer that perfectly. But hell, we're going to go into our chat one more time. PS here with a great moment from this show, which we'll be talking about in detail later. The moment he remembers most is Tommaso Ciampa without music entrance and everybody booing him. Trust me, we will be talking about that in great detail. But without further ado, let's go in with some of the, I suppose, details of this show for people that were wondering. Of course, this is on WrestleMania 34 weekend. Of course, New Orleans, surprise, surprise, is where the show was. It's Takeover New Orleans. It was in the Smoothie King Center of Louisiana. The attendance was 13,995, and we had the commentary team of Marlon Ronaldo, Nigel McGuinness, and Percy Watson.
They were fantastic because, like I was just before we get into that, I was watching the show and listening to it. Like they worked well together. Like those three were just great, and it just So I just wanted to say that about the three of them because
I was going to ask Cal what you thought of the commentary team, so I'm glad you answered it, Tino. But NXT, what were your thoughts?
I beat you to it. My bad.
Only one word needs to two words, and it's Mamma Mia. My God, so good to hear Mauro Ranallo once again. Of super gas. Nigel McGuinness as well. Percy Watson, and not my favorite third man on the commentary table, but Mauro and Nigel McGuinness more than made up for it.
I tell you what, as a trio, it worked really, really well for me. I get what you're saying with the Percy side of things. Obviously, he's not. I don't know what he's doing now. I've not seen him in anywhere in the wrestling industry for a while. But I hope he's doing whatever he's doing. But like you say, Nigel McGuinness now of AEW always complements what's going on so well with the other two guys there. He can be salty when he needs to be. He can be cool things as he needs to when it goes down to it. And Marlon Ronaldo, look, to be fair, probably one of the best play-by-play commentators there's ever been. Honestly, I miss the sound of his tones on a weekly basis, whether it's SmackDown or NXT. But also notice on this show, Mike Rome was the ring announcer for this show. Good to see him. They're getting quite a bit of a good reaction. And NXT, I'll ask you first here, do you miss the days of everyone screaming one fall?
Oh, 100%, man. It was like, this was the good thing about NXT was it was so PWG, like the crowd just used to get so involved with it. And like when the show was like the TV show was broadcast from Full Sail, it was just a different crowd compared to what they get at the Performance Center now, man. Yeah, I really do miss the days of the 1-4 and everything like that.
Absolutely, Tino.
What happened to it? That's my question. Is because I loved it. I just don't remember when did it disappear? Because it was so popular, and then
pandemic happened and they moved everything to the PC.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
There was a period, there was a small period as well where I think it was Greg Hamilton where it started back in the day, obviously with the SmackDown Live 2016. Obviously, he was doing NXT before as well. And he used to sort of encourage you to take a big gap where we could go 1-4 as well. And I think if you read the dirt sheets and you believe those dirt sheets, the understanding was it wasn't liked backstage. So Greg Hamilton usually would do the 1-4 and quickly follow on. And I think you notice Mike Rome in places tries to carry on in certain parts as well on this show. But certainly it's a fun, nostalgic part. And like you say, interaction in the show is very important and certainly adds to the viewing audience. It's amazing to see. But we go and then into the video package, or we say video package, a bit of a different style. NXT brings its own flavor with the video package because there is a band, Cane Hill, singing their song It Follows, the theme song for this show, with this video package playing in the back of the Titantron, hyping all the matches up. This is dark, it's grungy, it's dirt, it's metal, it's everything I need in my NXT. NXT, I know you're a big metal fan. How did you feel with this, rather than just a traditional video package, to have this clear live experience happening in front of your eyes whilst getting the videos there?
It's very 2000s pay-per-view-esque. We remember the days of Kid Rock and Limp Bizkit performing at Manias and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a very nostalgic feel. You can see where Triple H has got it from. My only question is I'm obviously, I don't know some of the newer bands. I'm very 2000s. That's where most of my music category comes from. So I'm not hip with the kids, as they say, but like I said, I just like the general feel of it all, man. It just makes it feel special then from what they would normally broadcast on a Wednesday night.
Absolutely, especially as now the main rosters of Raw and SmackDown don't do that sort of thing anymore. It really gives that individual feel to NXT, doesn't it, Tino?
Yeah, and I mean, like the thing about it too is like you were talking about like the Manias. That was the big thing it reminded me too of was like what was it, Mania 17 or 19 that they had like where like the band was in like performing and they had it like all over the video board or whatever. And it just like those things are so cool. And like you said, like the dirt and dungeon and like yeah, like it totally felt like a 2000 pay-per-view. And those pay-per-views were just like I was saying, getting like really excited for it. It just like I just don't have that same excitement as I used to because it's like, you know, like between like, you know, just the things that happen and the dirt and everything being spoiled. And it's just like, you know, I don't know. So,
No, I get
I
you,
wasn't
Slade.
using social media a lot at this time though, but maybe that was why. But I mean, I don't know. It sucks that the way, you know.
No, I understand your feeling with that. Absolutely, it can be. You know, social media can be a dangerous tool, and certainly you can find it more than what you need to in the modern times. But I tell you what, I got a good feeling watching that video package. I can't lie to you. The fact that you'd see the talent as well, and especially the fact you're going back to watch this show. We mentioned this already at the top of this stream. The fact that the certain wrestlers you're going to get to watch here, you kind of go, oh yeah, and I remember this happening on the build here, and you know, seeing how like the UE debuted and stuff like that. It's just those little bits that were thrown in together. Just for me, felt really, really special. But let's not waste any time anymore, ladies and gents. Let's get ourselves into a match. Match one didn't need a video package because it's for the NXT North American Championship. Of course, it's a 6-man ladder match. We've got Adam Cole, baby, against Ricochet, EC3, Killian Dain, Lars Sullivan, and Velveteen Dream, all involved in this match. Now, before I go into any details of this match, NXSteve, you've got the mic there, nice and handsomely ready. Is there any details you'd like to share with the group?
No, I was just getting ready to talk about it, man. Like I said, I'm really gassed for this one. Like, just as a personal note, I find it very hard to find a ladder match that's better than this in all of WWE's back catalogue. Don't get me wrong, TLC 1, TLC 2, but if you look at the variety of performers in this match, everyone had a spot, and it was just a perfect ensemble of wrestlers for one ladder match, man. This was just fantastic.
What I'm going to say is quickly, I thought that you were going to give us the details of Lars Sullivan's entrance.
Oh, what? The fact that his Titantron broke on the way in. To be fair, unless you see the little weird code in the bottom of the corner of this, like the Titantron, it still looks pretty cool and pretty grimace. And like the Lars Sullivan's meant to be this all like this evil kind of guy. I was like, I actually kind of digged it. Like, it's only for the fact that you read about it afterwards. It's like, yeah, the Titantron, like for some reason, his package just didn't play.
Yeah, but I still feel it was a fun night. I actually missed it. So the fact you mentioned that to me, I mean, I'm got thousands of notes trying to keep up with what's going on in the show, and I actually missed that detail. So I was glad that you did bring it up. But gents, strap yourselves in. This is going to be a long one. But what I will do is I'm going to break this match down. I'm going to come to you in sections and parts and get your reactions from the show. But before we do, there's one thing I did notice in one of the entrances, and Tino, I'm going to get your reaction to this. Did you notice this? On Adam Cole's entrance, we did see Britt Baker in the crowd.
Yeah, I was actually, yeah, and that was funny. It was funny because I was looking up a picture of Britt for one of my thumbnails, like for like one of the thumbnails I was making. And I put in Britt and it showed her in the crowd. So I was trying to figure out which one it was. And it was funny when I turned it on, I saw her. I'm like, oh, okay. So, and it's crazy to think about that was 5 years ago, and now they're both in AEW. And like you look at the people on this, and we'll obviously talk about it when you like go into the parts. But like it's just crazy. Like, what if Britt Baker would have become Britt Baker in NXT? Like, you know, it's crazy to think about. And yeah, I did see Britt though.
Steve.
There was a spot a couple of years ago where Britt gets shown on another NXT show, and there's all this commotion, like thinking that Britt's actually, because at this point Britt's obviously with AEW, and they thought like Britt was going to get in trouble for it for the fact that she was watching. I think it must have been one of the Cole Gargano matches, and they show her again, and it's like apparently the cameraman didn't know who she was, and I was like, it's pretty hard not to know who she was if you work in the wrestling world.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, apparently the cameraman got stick for it. But yeah, like Triple H apparently was like, he was very worried that she'd get in trouble for it. But it's like, hey man, she's attending a wrestling show. What trouble can you get in for that? If anything, that's just free advertisement for AEW saying, oh, that's Britt Baker. She wrestles for AEW.
And I think her and Adam were dating at that time. So it's like she's just going to see her boyfriend wrestle.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, shit.
I mean, to be fair, should the worst have happened, I'm sure Triple H could have found a home. So maybe we could have got her an NXT. But yeah, it is what it is. But let's go into some of the details of the match. Pierre's got a great question we're going to come to in a short time from now. But yeah, I mean, this one starts hot from the start. Ricochet, a shooting star press, and I'm going to take selected parts of this match, by the way, so we would be here all day long, just to let people know the length of this match. 31 minutes and 16 seconds. So you're putting some time in if you're watching this match the entire way through. But Ricochet doing a shooting star press from the top rope to the floor, landing on Lars Sullivan and Killian Dain, two of the big boys early in the match. We do see a suicide dive from Killian Dain, one of the big boys, to Lars Sullivan on the floor. Lars, though, carries a ladder, though, goes up the steps towards the ring with all 5 men in the ring, throws that ladder and takes everybody out. That's a really cool looking spot. Do you think, and I'm going to actually go and Steve to you early into this match as well, you said the variety in here. I've only mentioned 3 spots in the match, but already we're mentioning the big boys. They're playing their part in this match. It's not just the spot monkeys and just the small guys that do, like, you know, these flips and dives. The big boys are doing it too.
Yeah, it's a very, very well balanced ensemble, like I said before, like especially with Damo, like Killian Dain, because he's one of them big agile guys that can do like moonsaults and stuff like that. So like there's a spot later on which I'm sure you'll mention, and it's like, yeah, he's just like, it's just a great ensemble. And just like, don't forget as well, this is Ricochet's first match in WWE televised. Like, he'd done tours before, but this is his very first televised match, because like no one had seen him apart from a backstage segment where like he said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be in this match," but he'd just done the house shows for NXT. So, do you know what I mean? That's why he come out last, man. Everyone was waiting for that massive pop.
Absolutely, as well, and to get the entrance music as well there. And Tino, what were your thoughts seeing the variety of this match? Obviously, we mentioned there the big boys getting involved there nice and early, and obviously Lars with that quite impressive spot, actually bringing a ladder, carrying it into the ring, and actually throwing it at the 5 guys, taking them all out.
I mean, I thought it was great. I mean, the whole thing just about it, like, it seemed like everybody got their own little shine. They got their own little spot to go and do their thing. And I honestly didn't even know that was Ricochet's first match. And the fact that was his first match and he did all that was just incredible. And it's just like the spots, and like, you know, you might not like Lars or Killian, but they did some great things in this match, and they brought some things to it that was like incredible that we see big guys do now, like Veer, and they tried to do Otis and stuff. So it's like one of those things. It's cool to see these guys move. Like, they're a little bigger, but they can still be athletic, and it's crazy because it's just like, you know, so it's fun. And all around, it was just an enjoyable match that you could go back and watch over and over again and still find something to enjoy about it.
Absolutely. And the fact is as well, we mentioned there about how the big boys play their part, but how they also interact with the small athletes as well. The fact that they use moves together to actually make impressive moments in the match also. I mean, Lars actually looks to climb the ladder early doors in this match, and Ricochet joins him. Does a sunset flip over the ladder. Obviously, Lars as well attempts to do a powerbomb attempt.
Like,
yeah, amazing. And obviously, when Ricochet tries to do that powerbomb, he can't do it on his own. So it takes more guys to go and help deliver that powerbomb. Of course, Adam Cole as well is one of the guys helping, but is also on the ladder. He remains on that ladder at that point, solo. Looks like he's going to try and get the belt, but then Killian does pull him off. It's just fun how they can all interact together. But obviously, what happens when obviously the big guys are dominating early on? You need an alliance. So what happens? Adam Cole and EC3 create that alliance, of course. Until EC3 goes and ruins it, he does his own form of an Adam Cole chant. EC3, baby. Doesn't go too well, unfortunately. So we see Adam Cole do a super kick field to everybody in the field, should I say, including Ricochet, who does a springboard to receive such super kick. A really fun looking spot there. And of course, then we get the real Adam Cole baby chant, which of course New Orleans completely laps up. NXSteve, honestly, beautiful moment that.
To think the spot we get however long down the road with Ricochet and Adam Cole, but yeah, the super kick party that Adam Cole delivers here, and the one Ricochet takes, it's just like, my God, Ricochet is so good at selling. I love it, man.
Absolutely. We'll move on in the match. In the meantime, we get exchanges with Velveteen Dream and Lars Sullivan, which leads to a ladder in Lars Sullivan's face. Clearly not sort of a greeting I'd want, if I'm going to be brutally honest. But the Velveteen Dream then climbs to the top of the ladder and lands an elbow drop off the very top of the ladder. A very cool looking spot, something very sort of 90s you see from a ladder match, but felt very fitting for this match here as a spot added involved in. Really made Velveteen Dream stand out, Tino.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they were going out there and doing that, and Velveteen Dream, it's like, it's crazy to think about like what he could have been and how like over he was at the time, and how like much like it just, it was just incredible to like watch and see. And it just like, I know people don't like Velveteen Dream and everything, but we gotta, what he did for when he wasn't there and everything like that. And the EC3 stuff is just funny. Like, who would have, like the fact we're having like these weird partnerships were great, or were just random and great. And I think they even said it. They made a comment. They were like, we have all these mixed match tag teams, and I think about it now, and it's like that's what they do now. Like they just mix match, especially the women. They just put random women together, and it's a tag team. So, but it was kind of cool to see like these different guys like team up and do these things, and yeah.
Absolutely, indeed. And we mentioned about Ricochet's first televised match. I'll pull this come up for now. This was EC3's first televised match as well. Apparently in the top 1%. Sadly, it didn't last, unfortunately. But
it's crazy to think about though that like a lot of these guys were like their first matches, and they were like, like what really could have been like a match, like this really could have been like the main roster at this time, like if they were all still with the company and everything, like.
Absolutely, it's amazing how things can change. Yeah, it's a shame how things can change, but obviously we move on in the meantime with the match. Obviously, Dream goes for the title. Obviously, at this point, but EC3 powerbombs Dream off onto another ladder as well in the corner. So again, quite gruesome coming off the ladder there. A TKO from EC3 to Adam Cole off the ladder as well. That alliance is well and truly done. I would see a senton from Killian Dain onto a ladder with EC3 underneath. Ouch, looks painful for everybody. And this is followed by a Vader bomb on the ladder from Killian Dain with EC3 underneath, but with Adam Cole on Dain's back. That looked painful. NXSteve, tell me, how did it look for Adam Cole's knees landing on the ground?
The fact that Damo is like 300 pounds, whatever, you had then another 100 and, I don't know, 60 pound man on top, and you've got nearly equivalent of the Big Show falling on you. It's going to be painful no matter what, man. Like, props to EC3 because that must have sucked.
Nicely indeed there, Tino. That wasn't a nice feel, was it?
No, not at all. That just did now. There's sometimes I watch these things and I'm just like, oh, that hurts me. I'm just like, no. Like, oh, it's like I took the punch. It's just like, oh, nah.
Well, maybe you'd want to be Ricochet instead, although maybe not, because afterwards, how do you do a one-upsmanship if you're Lars Sullivan and Killian Dain? You take Ricochet and you throw him as far across the ring as possible.
They said, Chuck. They just went there.
Literally chucked him. And of course, the fans actually encouraged it. Welcome Ricochet to the roster, eh? But Ricochet does get back into the match. He climbs the ladder. Lars then tips the ladder backwards, and Ricochet at this point decides, well, I'm going to land and hurt myself anyway. Mid-air, as the ladder's tipping, he moonsaults to the floor, landing on Killian Dain and Adam Cole. Spectacular spot. The crowd goes mental for this moment. And we see another shooting star press from Ricochet to EC3, who lays on a ladder. And then the ladder is positioned between a ladder and a turnbuckle. We see Velveteen Dream, hit his Death Valley driver on Ricochet on the ladder. Honestly, the amount of spots there from Ricochet alone, there really is a highlight reel, nice and early in this one, Tino.
Yeah, and I mean, I was thinking about it. It's like he's one of those guys that has went to NXT. He's kind of starting to get over. He's starting to get, he's got the thing going on with Samantha and the feud, and he just got on with Logan Paul. And now he's probably going to feud with whoever. And, I don't know. But, I mean, it was just really cool to see. And I was actually going to ask you guys, do you guys think Ricochet could be a future world champion? Like, could we see him be like, they have like a Kofi Mania type moment?
Chat, let us know.
I mean, I don't know. I think Ricochet is one of those guys that we could see possibly go. And it obviously he did something right if he's still here. And it's like the moves that he did was just like, it mind blows me sometimes how these guys do these things, and I'm just like, how does
the thing with Ricochet is Ricochet is just a good seller. Like he's up there with your Dolph Ziggler's, and like even Randy Orton gave him props for selling an RKO, like where he just basically studded himself on the head, and it's like
wasn't it in the WrestleMania match? I wasn't Randy in that match, no.
Oh, I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head without checking it. But I think he's just a really good worker. I think if he gets a chance to go back to NXT, he'll be NXT World Champion. But at the minute, unless he's booked well, I can't see him doing it on the main roster, unfortunately.
neither can I, unfortunately, without going into too much further details. I agree with a lot of the points. The same as CD here, saying he has challenged for it once with Brock Lesnar, but I think mid-card champion is probably the level that Ricochet is at currently in WWE. But like you said, he's such a good seller, so it's hard to see him go further up the ladder.
Hey,
Pun intended here.
Dolph cashed in the Money in the Bank, so you never know.
You never know. We hope, though. We're going to hope, because I'm a big fan of Ricochet. I would love to see him have that momentum at some point. But speaking of ladders being positioned, by the way, I mentioned about one being actually in the ring connected to the turnbuckle. We've seen ladders laying between the ring apron and the announcer's table. There are two amazing moments coming up in the match that I'm going to explain, and holy hell. First one's Killian Dain. No, it's not Killian Dain. It's actually Lars Sullivan hitting a free accident onto EC3, onto Velveteen Dream, who's laying on the ladder, and the ladder breaks. That is ouch. And the second one's Killian Dain, who seems to do like a sit-down sort of slam, if you want, to Adam Cole, landing onto Ricochet, onto another ladder as well. All six men completely out of it at this point. And I've got to say, it's just a wow factor seeing those spots. Unfortunately, I can't give the same feeling as how good these were, NXSteve.
Yeah, it's like I think this one match alone, like whenever they do future builds for TLCs or ladder matches, this one match alone has enough spots in it that you can just reuse over and over. Like I had like Edge Spears, Jeff Hardy off the top of a ladder. This match is just full of equally the same stuff that you could just use over and over again.
Absolutely, indeed, there. And just to go into a few other details, then obviously all the guys get back into the ring. We see 3 ladders then positioned in the ring. Of course, they all make their way back in. 2 on one ladder, 2 on another, 2 on the final one. We see a Russian leg sweep where Adam Cole and EC3 get taken off the first ladder. We see an avalanche neck breaker from Ricochet taking out Velveteen Dream, and then a freak accident from Lars Sullivan to Killian Dain. The big boys getting the big spot off the ladder as well. Lars goes up that ladder. We see another springboard from Ricochet to land on Lars, but this one goes a bit nasty. I don't think this is how it was meant to go. Both kind of just collapse with the ladders as well. Lars is up bleeding, seems out of the match, but Ricochet goes to climb that ladder, but he's tipped over the ladder, and this time Ricochet doesn't do a moonsault. He just crashes into the ropes and goes crashing to the floor. Adam Cole left on his own and becomes the first ever NXT North American champion. A spectacular finish to their match. Tino, go all in now. Thoughts of this match?
I mean, the whole entire thing was just enjoyable. Like I said, I just rewatched it this morning, and it was just like watching it was just insane. And it was just like it was reminding me like the first TLC, the second TLC, and like some of the ladder matches that like we didn't see for a minute there. Like for a minute there, some of the ladder matches weren't the best, and it just like some of these matches were just so great that like this one was just like, as Steve said, go back and watch it. Like you can take things from it that you can use that is absolutely great. I did not think, honestly, I kind of forgot who won this match, so it kind of made Adam Cole winning like a little bit more. I was like, oh, okay, because sometimes like I forget who wins these matches, and I'm just like, but Adam Cole winning, I thought like, I think obviously we see where it went, and then the Undisputed Era and everything else like that, and then them having all the gold, and it was just, it was great. But yeah, all around, it was a great match, and like I said earlier, I think it all gave every superstar their own little spot. And, obviously things happen, but I mean, they were all able to show out on a big stage because this was their WrestleMania, because it was obviously the night before WrestleMania. What was it, 34?
It was indeed. Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah. So fantastic. All around, and a great way to start off the pay-per-view. I mean, I would need like a 20-minute break after this one.
It's one of those actually. You are thankful there's a video package and obviously some hot replays of this match afterwards. NXSteve, did you need to take a bit of a breath after this one?
Oh, dude, man, I'm so gassed for it, man. I was like, bring on the next one. Like, the structure of this pay-per-view is perfect, the way they've done it, especially with obviously having the Women's Championship match next. It's just a perfectly laid out thing. Like I said, half an hour on a ladder match. So you think like at some point you get bored of it, but with this match, not a second is wasted, man. Every guy gets his shot. Every guy gets his spots in. Adam Cole, my guy, like I remember, I'm sure I've done predictions for this on Jonesy's channel. Adam Cole was the winner for me, 100%. Although a lot of people had money down on Ricochet because it was his first match. Undisputed Era all the way, man. Adam Cole picking up that championship was a great result, man. Loved it.
I've got to say, I agree with both of your sentiments. I'm not going to class it as the greatest ladder match ever because I do think there are some that are sentimentally more there for me. But I love the fact that the time that this match is given, because there is, like you said, there's time for every superstar to shine. There is no wasted moments. Every moment is a big moment, and it makes everybody stand out and feel better coming out of the match as a result of it. Obviously, we mentioned some superstars are no longer with WWE for whatever reasons, but look at the same time and say, on this night, all these people had a chance to shine and really stand out and actually have a bright future going forward in NXT from just what they saw here. And obviously, like NXT said there, for me, it was the correct winner. Adam Cole winning that North American Championship makes the UE stronger. He had not won singles gold at NXT at this point. Of course, he debuted, I believe it was the SummerSlam Brooklyn show, obviously the summer before. So this was the first opportunity at gold for him. So this was a great win for him, and obviously great for that championship as well. And sort of, a name that could have really add prestige to this nice and early, straight out the gate. And obviously, still to this day, probably one of the best NXT North American champions of all time. But before we go to the chat, because we've got some great comments that have come flying in, we mentioned 31 minutes, 16 seconds. For those, some people don't like him, but Dave Meltzer is a fan. To some people, like to know his star ratings. But before I get his star rating, I'm going to get your star rating. So, Tino, out of 5 stars, what'd you give this?
Oh, definitely 5 stars. 5 stars. 5 10.
NXSteve?
Yeah, there's only one answer. It's 5, man, all the way.
What?
I'm going to go for 4. No, I'm going to go for 5 as well. It's a 5-star. There's no way you can go beneath. If you're going to go to do Meltzer stuff, you can give it more than 5 if you need to, but I think that's a bit silly. So 5 stars we do here. 5 stars is what it will be. But to give you the answer for Dave Meltzer, 5 stars. He felt it is a perfect match as well. So there you go. Yeah,
we all agree.
Great. Perfect start to the show, and I've got to say perfect as well. Our chat have got involved with a number of comments here. We've got Jadis in the house as well.
Hey, what's up, Jadis?
You're doing well. Thank you for joining us as well. Be keeping well. This one here from Pierre. What EC3 did on the main roster is a shame and a waste of talent. I have to agree with that. EC3 had his start as a rookie in NXT Season 2, and he came back and still was... He was kind of booked as a flop. Obviously, EC3, a lot of potential. Current NWA World Champion as well. Doing some great stuff on indies, if you will. NXT, is it a shame EC3 never got bigger?
He's one of these people that suffered from being called up too early. He should never have left NXT, and it was a case of Vince calling him up, and then they had him doing segments with Alexa Bliss in some interview, and then having him beaten up on the ramp and knocked unconscious, never to be seen again. So I think EC3 is just really unfortunate with his timing. Like, he should have been a lot bigger than what he was in WWE.
I have to agree. Obviously, when you look at his time as Derek Bateman, obviously had a match with Daniel Bryan, of course, back in NXT days, was an absolute clinic of a match, which will be on Peacock Network somewhere. For those who haven't seen a match, go and check it out. It was a brilliant match. But yeah, it's a shame to see, like you said, timing is everything there in NXT, and I have to agree with what your sentiments are. It's a shame it didn't become more. And if he had stayed in NXT, who knows, an NXT title run probably would have been the thing that could have got him to the next level, because he's a great talker, but never got a chance to shine. Tino, anything more you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is what exactly happened with him? Like, was there like a reason that he got was it just the main roster fail with him going on the segments and flirting with Alexa Bliss? Because I thought when he first came up and they showed him in the crowd, because you guys remember these were, I don't know if I forgot if they did it at this one. I know they showed the band, but for a lot of the pay-per-views they would show EC3, or I remember at one we were talking about Britt. They showed Britt. They showed. I forgot. I think they showed Riddle at one of them. They were those were the types of things that it was just when I first saw him, I'm just okay, he's gonna be a big star. And then, as Steve said, he came on, he was doing these weird things, and I see somebody said he didn't talk on the main roster. He really didn't do anything, and he should have been left down. And that's the one thing that sucks with a lot of these guys, is that they got stuck with being called up too early and everything like that. Because we'll talk about the main event later. But the fact that Andrade and Aleister Black are the two guys that were fighting in that was the main event, you know what I mean? That's crazy that 5 years now, if they weren't in AEW and if they weren't called up early and everything, who knows where they would have been. And I always say everything happens for a reason, but it just, sometimes you got to think about the what if and the fantasy of it. But yeah, I mean, sorry, I know I went a little overboard, but EC3, yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to be.
Unfortunately, for this period of time, it's just the case of Vince McMahon happened for a lot of them.
I was trying to think of a Vinceism or something. He had the Vince ick or something like that. I don't know. But yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let's answer Ray's question. He says, was this the best time in NXT? Obviously, we talked about New Orleans, we had Philadelphia before that. Obviously, the whole build with Gargano Ciampa continues on into the summer as well. In fact, arguably a 3-year rivalry. They're still on and off these days. They've just got back together. But you look at this period of NXT.
You know they're gonna run it back
time
on the main roster. You know they're gonna show the picture from this one in like 2 years on like a WrestleMania or a big pay-per-view and be like, we're running it back or something. So
they have to do it. They have to at some point on the main roster. But would you say NXT, this is the best time in NXT? I would have to say so.
Yeah, 2018, 2019. I mean, especially with like what was going on, like 2017, like New Japan as well, because this is when Kenny Omega was really sort of making a name for himself out in New Japan, where it was actually starting to spread over into like the US and Europe, and they were starting to make a big name. And it was almost like it was New Japan and NXT, like just setting the bar for this kind of independent shoot style wrestling with like do you know what I mean? They made shows fun, and it was like it's why I love NXT so much at this point. I mean, it's just that, like I said, it's just a shame that the roster that was there and what happened to them, it just unfortunately hasn't lasted. And then obviously global pandemic as well, that kind of killed it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. The pandemic really was a killer for NXT. It's only now finally getting those steps back now at this point. But I would say it's the best time in NXT's history when we look through it. Tino, would you agree? So, is there a different period you'd pick?
No, I mean, I thought like I said, like this whole like, I feel like from like 2016, like when we first had like the brand split, and for like a second there, it kind of felt like we were like AJ Styles face that run the place, and then we started getting these great takeovers and everything. I just like it was just like it finally around this time. It felt like me and my friends would have like wrestling parties again, and like we were like 22, 23, and I feel like I can't even believe I'm saying that. It's not even that old, but it's just like, you know, like it's just like we were doing things that like we weren't doing for a minute there, and it was like we would be more excited for like the takeovers than like the actual pay-per-views on Sunday, because the takeovers were so good. They would have 5-6 matches. Each match would get a good amount of time. They'd only be like 2.5 hours. It wasn't here for 5-hour pay-per-views. So it was a good time to be a wrestling fan. And as you said, they're kind of getting back to it now, where it's kind of like they're feeling it. And you mentioned Halloween Havoc. I thought last night was a really good show. So let's hope we get back to it. But yeah, this time we'll never get this time back. But this was just the time that was just incredible. So if you do have the extra time, go back and watch these takeovers because they were so good.
Absolutely, always great times with these takeovers there. And obviously Roger says this was the best time in NXT, but it was 1 hour weekly show on the network as well. Absolutely, it was a great time period as well. It didn't oversaturate on the build either. They did what they needed to do. They got out there. Everyone had time to refresh as well. Characters and stuff never got sort of stale because there was 2-3 weeks at a time before you'd see him back on TV.
And this
so it was a good way to keep it ticking over.
Regal was the GM too at this time, wasn't he? Yeah, because he was running around and that was the other thing. Regal just made it great. Regal just,
I think one of the biggest flaws was taking NXT live because, like I was saying before we started, the fact that they used to do 3 weeks at a time recorded, it just tends to make a lot more sense. Like the wrestlers, you turn up once every 3 weeks, you do 3 hours worth of taping, and then you just basically do house shows until either a pay-per-view or the next 3 weeks go by and you've got to do another taping again. It was really the best time for NXT.
I have to agree. Now, this is going to be difficult to answer very quickly, guys, but I'm going to try and get, obviously 2-3 word answers depending on the wrestler that you choose. I'll start with NXT. Who is the greatest NXT wrestler? Obviously, it's a subjective question, but who in your mind would be your choice?
Debatable. For me, it's either Finn Balor or Adam Cole.
I kind of am in that same sort of bracket. I would say Finn Balor, though. I always feel like the NXT brand was carried through to the levels it got to here through a Finn Balor. I feel without that time of him as champion, you wouldn't get to here. Tino, who would you pick?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the greatest, obviously Finn Balor or Adam Cole, but I feel like another good one was like Shinsuke at the time, or like Asuka, Samoa Joe at that time was really good. Bobby Roode at one point was just like, even when Drew came back, like Drew, like the fact that Drew came back and like did what Drew did was even just great. And then becoming champion, and it was funny, like I still visualize, like every time I think about like when Drew McIntyre got taken out and everything after he won the title and all of that, and that was when Undisputed Era, right? Undisputed Era was the one that took him out, right? I still have like that visual in my head of like them just coming and just like Drew just laying there. And at the time, like I didn't know who they were because like I just wasn't following all the other stuff like I do now because like of the podcast and everything. But like it was just like it was so cool because it was just like the faction warfare was so cool too. And then we'll obviously get war games, like, you know, but yeah. So
absolutely. Just say Pierre, yes. All the yeses to that comment in the world. I'd love to see Ospreay versus Ricochet in WWE. C Nation goes on to say that this was the night where Adam Cole became an NXT champion. People may say he's wrong, but the Freebird rule and WWE count him as an NXT Triple Crown winner. He is, and he did win the match on the night. He was defending those tag team titles, so he did actually become a double champion on that night. You are indeed correct. We'll be talking more about his second match very, very shortly. Two Sweet Cows is crazy to think that Ricochet is the only one left in WWE 5 years later. If you've asked me who would have been left, and he would have said Cole or Dream for sure. It's crazy to think how the world works in mysterious ways. Obviously, other companies as well. You never know how it can go down, but we'll have to wait and see. But we'll go to another comment from CD. Says Ricochet and Velveteen Dream would still become North American champions after this, not just the first. Absolutely. Yeah, it goes on to change as things go along. Obviously, you get new champions crowned. They didn't let EC3 say one word on the main roster, says CD, and that's probably one of the main reasons why it failed as well. Mike here says Takeover New Orleans is one of the greatest. So yeah, one of the greatest comes out there from Mike. Mike, which is the greatest? He's actually got a further comment here, which I think he corrects it here. Is one of the greatest takeovers ever. We have to agree, but is it the greatest, Mike? Let us know. CD says he feels bad that Aleister Black became NXT champion when Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa were doing their best work. Hey, timing's everything.
Tommaso too could be added to that list. There's a lot of great NXT superstars. Like it just.
I know what CD said with that one. It's because of the fact that the whole time Black was champion, he never main evented. I'm pretty sure he never main evented a takeover as champion. It was always behind Gargano and Ciampa.
It was just the hottest angle, and unfortunately, sometimes you got to go with the hottest angle. But I agree, he feels bad. We do a little bit as well. We do a little bit. Mike says that the ladder match for the North American title is simply crazy and very good match. Some of the spots were insane. Have to agree with that. And Ken says that who books Adam Cole best? NXT or AEW? That's a tough question. Tino, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Well, I feel like I'm going to get hate either way. I'm going to get yelled at either way tonight on Dynamite when I go live. But I mean, I've enjoyed Adam Cole on AEW. Like, I think he's done like good, and especially stuff he's doing now with MJF and the stuff they're doing with Roddy, I think is hysterical. But the stuff that he did in WWE is just great with the Undisputed Era, the War Games, the faction warfare, the matches he had on the few matches he had on the main roster, the War Games in 2019, the Survivor Series in Chicago, when he led the team. I think just all of it, you know. And it obviously sucks things happen the way it does, but you know, I always say, like, people like with I don't want to talk about it too much, but I always talk about it when people like get mad about them going to different companies. It's like we get to see him on TV, so it's like, yeah, that we might not see him where we want to see him, but we still get to see him on TV. So I'll say NXT, but I mean, the stuff in AEW, I feel like the stuff in AEW is more like funny and like comedic, where like in NXT he was taken more serious and he was taking more, you know, like this and that. And I think eventually he'll be taken, but obviously the injuries have hurt him, and he can't do nothing about that. It's not that he wants, you know, he don't want to be injured. So yeah.
NXT is them. NXT is the one. I'm going to go say NXT as well, purely because I agree with everything Tino said. The stuff Adam Cole's done in NXT, and in a way, I love what I'm seeing him do in AEW. Like, it's unfortunate with the injuries, but the reason I say NXT is because he was there for 4 years, champion for 400 odd days, the top champion. He's not done that yet in AEW, but there's time to do that. That answer could change in time. So that's today, Ken.
And he can do it.
2 or 3 years, I could say different.
400 days in AEW.
You never know. You never know.
In NXT, he was the guy. In AEW, he's not the guy. So I'd have to say NXT. But give it time. Like, don't get me wrong, he's still in AEW for, I believe he signed until 2027. So injuries aside, which is, I think, is his biggest hindrance at the minute. But even if you take the things that he done outside of NXT, so like for instance the SummerSlam stuff, the phenomenal match with Daniel Bryan for the NXT Championship on SmackDown that week. Do you know what I mean? He's just had a much better run on NXT. But like I said, time can change that, and it just depends on how AEW book him.
Absolutely, indeed. There, Too Sweet Carl here with a comment here that comes up on our screen in a couple of seconds. Maybe a hot take, but I think NXT today is going to be better for character development. A lot of call-outs from the Black and Gold days didn't really have the set and established character. I have to agree with that. I think that's not for what Vince McMahon wanted at that point anyway. I think that was the thing. There was that connection from the top to the bottom. I think now when you look at it, I think the NXT, the characters are developing quite nicely. And I think the NXT has evolved into a show now where it was 2 character developed, and now it's got the best of both worlds. And I think that could be a really big benefit going forward, NXT.
I think the biggest problem is not so much like the characters, yes, might be slightly better developed for what the main roster wants nowadays, but the wrestling was better. And at the end of the day, it's a wrestling show. I mean, Ricochet, not the greatest person in ring promo, like on a ring promo, is kind of average. Nothing really major stands out about him. But inside the ring, he's phenomenal. And it's like, I think that's just the thing is like, it's just unfortunate timing with Vince McMahon. Like, this is why Triple H brought a load of them back when the half of them were released, and it's kind of like, I think if you give time, and I reckon you'd probably still see half of them come back. I'd like to think Adam Cole would come back, Keith Lee would come back. There's so many people that I think, like, if Triple H was 100% in control, Vince has no say whatsoever, they would go back to WWE.
I have to agree. Tino, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with it. And that's the thing, like with NXT being a lot, like getting a lot better. I feel like, it is, and I feel like it's like, I feel like it's good. It's gonna in the future, and like give it like a couple more years. And I think like, because it's good that we're seeing like people like get over that, like we're not like Lyra. I don't want to spoil it, but like Lyra having like the opportunity to go and face Becky last night and everything like that. It's one of those things that, we wouldn't be able to see. And it's like, it's just cool to see them being able to do that. And like I said, the NXT that we got at this time, we'll never be able to get again. And like with the women too was great. And we'll talk about the women's match next. And it's just like, we will never get it back, but I'm still excited for the NXT now, but I still enjoyed the black and gold. Will always be my favorite. But right now I'm enjoying the NXT now too. There's just something about like this time that it's got like a place in your heart or something. I don't know.
Absolutely, it does have a place in the heart. And this is what everyone's favorite NXT superstar is of ever then. That's been asked that question. The chat's got involved. Tusa says Johnny Gargano. His answer, obviously, because he's one of his favorites. I know that for fact. But not the only answer for Johnny Gargano. Obviously, CD reckons the same there. PS says Oscar was the queen in NXT. Mike says Johnny Gargano, greatest NXT wrestler ever. Ken goes with Charlotte Flair or babyface Bayley was best for him. And then we got the answer here from Mike saying that New Orleans may not be the greatest takeover, but the best pay-per-view in the last 15 years. Interesting take there from Mike there. We'll be giving our answers to this later in the show. Tisa McCall says, I know Black was champion, but when I went in Chicago, he wasn't main eventing, so I think you're right. There you go. Looks like it was correct on that point there. And CD reckons that NXT should go back to 1 hour, in his opinion. Too much wrestling. Could be a hot take, that one there. Could be a hot take. And Ken, yes, do remember the days that Izzy was dressed up like Bayley in the crowd each and every week, and now she is a wrestler now. Crazy how things evolve.
I still can't believe, I didn't realize that was her until like I saw, like I went and like she did like one of those like 10-year things or whatever. I was just like, oh my God, that was like, that's crazy. I was like, where the heck did time go?
It screams Mania main event, did it really? Like,
you already know when she's like, you already know. WrestleMania 45, book it.
There you go. WrestleMania 45, it is settled for you.
I bet you she was at the WrestleMania 35 takeover. So I bet 10-year anniversary, book it. There you go.
Well, I promised these guys that this shouldn't go longer than an hour. We're 48 minutes into the stream. We've done one match out of 5. You might as well be a watch-along at this point. If you've pressed play on Peacock the time you started talking, you've just finished the ladder match. You're on point with us. Brilliant stuff indeed there. But what I'll say is quickly, before we go to our next match, there was a video package, NXT, you want to mention about Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, which was the main event of WrestleMania 34.
Literally, just the first thing that Roman Reigns turned around and says, "Oh, Brock's not here." 5 years later, guess who's not here? It's just, you couldn't have timed it better, man. Like, I found it hilarious that the whole thing for Brock versus Roman and Mania was Brock's never here, blah blah blah. And it was like, yep, it's the same thing 5 years later. It's just the roles are reversed. That's all.
And to think we got that match for another 4 years afterwards as well. It was a common theme.
What was that, the third one? Isn't that second one?
Second or third? I'm going to go.
Yeah, so 33 would have been no, not 33. What was the greatest? The great, the heist of the century. What was that
31.
one? 33.
31.
31. So, yeah.
31.
So that's probably got to be 3.
Could be.
Yeah.
Someone let us know. CD's in the chat. You'll let us know. You'll let us know nice and quickly without having to do the research.
Cena did the same thing.
He always does. Yeah, not now, Roger. Not now, but maybe it's someday.
Not
yet.
Definitely down the road. I feel like it could be some
Maybe
type of
45.
it could be like a Becky and like Trish thing, kind of like where
Yeah.
but obviously there's way more to the story, but I mean like something like that where I feel like after Bailey's done damage control, she takes a little time off, she wins maybe another champion, So
could happen someday down the line. But I'll tell you what, in the meantime, we're talking about potential women's matches for the future. Let's talk about a women's championship match that was on this show. Ember Moon versus Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship. And this came with a video package. Let's go through the details of this one. Obviously, this match was a rematch after TakeOver Philadelphia, where Moon rolled up Shayna Baszler, surviving the submission magician in a brutal contest. Shayna, of course, looking to attack the arm during the match, which was always a brutal spot that Shayna would do at that moment. But she attacked Ember after the match as well, doing the clutch on the ring floor. Of course, Shayna claims that Ember didn't beat her. We see Shayna brutalize other NXT women's wrestlers at the time, Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane being 2 of them. Shayna says, who's the bigger fool? The one who makes the system or the one who follows it? Ember follows the rules, but Shayna says you don't have to stick to the system. Well, I mean, the UE usually shot the system as well, don't they? But she says she did what she needed to do. Ember challenged her. She didn't skip the line. It's just her playing the game. It won't be a wrestling match. It will be a fight. Ember then comes in there and says that she is ready for a fight, refusing to sit on the sidelines. Shayna wants to be given everything on a silver platter. It's not how you get respect. I don't care what you did or where you came from. This is NXT, and I am the NXT Women's Champion. So that was the video package there, pretty much summed up in a nutshell. NXT, for me, I thought this actually really got me into the match. I was quite looking forward to it once I saw this. Really sort of freshened me up as well, what we'd seen in the build-up onto the road to here.
I think the plus side is that we know in 2018 Shayna Baszler is booked like a complete badass, and she is dominating that women's division. Essentially, what Rhea's doing on Raw right now. It was just good to see a good build to a women's match. If I'm honest, the fact that this has story and reason for it to happen again. Obviously, we saw that Shayna Baszler's weakness of being like rolled up while doing a submission move, do you know what I mean, comes into effect. But yeah, it's do you know what I mean? It's just a good build to a match, and it had a place. For although it was probably the second most predictable match on the card, this is still a great match.
Absolutely. Tino, what do you think of the video package?
Yeah, I mean, I love video packages. I still, like, when I watch these matches, like, because I go back and watch pay-per-views, I will literally watch the video package first just to get myself re-hyped up for the match. And they're just, they were so great. Like, all of the ones that they did throughout the pay-per-view, we were calling it pay-per-views back then, so I'm allowed to. The pay-per-view at the time, it was good, and it was incredible. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and I just enjoyed this whole entire match. And it was refreshing to see Shayna as a badass and go out there and do what she, we all know that she can do compared to what she was doing, but hopefully she gets back to it soon.
Absolutely, indeed. Fingers crossed it is in the near future. Joe in house gives a shout out to Tino there. Joe, good to see you. We're doing well. Zane, I'm going to hold that question for the meantime. I haven't got a good answer for you. But we'll go into the match then we've got in the meantime then. But we'll hopefully give you a good answer to your question very shortly. But we'll talk about the match then. Obviously, we have a live performance for Ember's entrance. NXT, was you feeling the Ember's entrance?
I'm okay with certain performances of live music. Like Shinsuke's is always great because when you have the violinist out there, but I don't know, it just seems to be like the music doesn't cut as hard when it's performed live. It's the same as, when you listen to any album and then go and watch them live and it just doesn't hit the same. And it's like, I'm okay with it, but like I said, for a pay-per-view, I understand.
Yeah, fine, but not perfect for me, Tino.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was one of those things. Obviously, they're probably doing it because, like I said, it was like they were trying to treat this as like their WrestleMania because it was the Saturday before and everything. So they were trying to bring out everything, but I don't think this one was really necessary. I think the one like in the beginning was, and then like if we had like somebody like a Shin or something like that maybe, but like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they just put it there just to put it there, and it's just like.
Yeah, just it it was just to give a bit of extra hype for Ember, I suppose, on the night, really going in there, because of course Shayna had Ronda Rousey and Jessamine Duke sitting ringside cheering her on as well. We got a camera shot of there. Of course, Ronda Rousey was going to debut for the main roster of WrestleMania 34 the night afterwards, which is crazy when you go back to think of that now. But going into the
other
match,
girl, and isn't the other girl in AEW now?
Jessamine Duke,
Shafir,
no.
yeah,
Marina Shafir is. Shafir wasn't in the front row.
Okay, so it's Marina.
That's Roddy's wife, isn't it? Marina
It is
Shafir.
indeed. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe she was backstage. That's maybe
right.
where she was. But we have to say allegedly or speculation. We don't know for sure.
I think they had a child at the time.
Oh, really? Well, there you are. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that would probably explain a lot as well there, obviously. But
It.
yeah, well, I'll tell you, we'll go into the match then. Not as much detail for this one. I reckon we can get this done in one load here, and then we can go and get the opinions of everybody here. But Ember misses a drop kick right at the bell, and Shayna sort of lands a right hand. Clearly, you can do better. That was the impression given from the commentary team. However, we do see a very aggressive Ember move from the start of this match here, landing a code breaker as well from the second rope for a 2 count. It's a back and forward contest. It feels like a lot of quick exchanges. Ember's not going to accept being beaten down. Like I said, this aggressive streak really shows through her moveset. But we get a cool moment where Shayna looks to injure the arm of Ember. The facials in particular, for me, I'm going to highlight, were brilliant. If you just see the camera still there, the fear in Ember's face, the sort of glee that Shayna's going to actually just, damage this girl's arm and shoulder, just really sort of look good. But the thing is, though, Ember moves when the stomp is done. However, then the roles are reversed. So we see Shayna with that fear, but actually ends up on the receiving end of it. Ember does land that, and we do see that Shayna ends up with an injured shoulder, to the point that when she does get back on to the advantage, she's on the outside of the ring, actually trying to pop her shoulder back into place by slamming it against the ring post. Really politely disgusting stuff, really. It felt real watching it, which was really, really good when you see that from character work. Kind of stuff I like in my wrestling. I like a bit of storytelling. We see Ember Moon landing her Eclipse on the outside of the ring, obviously from the top rope as well. Very impressive looking spot. Shayna has a Karafuda cut chin, but Ember targets the shoulder to get out of it. Ember then gets too close and ends up in a triangle hold, but she manages to lift Shayna for a powerbomb and then gets a two count with a pinfall attempt. Ember then attempts the Eclipse in the ring, but this time she's caught by Shayna and lands in a Karafuda clutch. Ember does try to get out, does try to attack the shoulder as well, but Shayna then takes that arm away, instead uses one arm and doesn't do the carrying cross where she just sort of rests it there. She takes her hair and uses that as leverage, obviously pulling on her own hair. If Ember's going to get out of this, the hair has to come out of Shayna's head. Again, a bit weird, but kind of digged it. Ember tires. She tries to hold on. She rolls to the center of the ring, but obviously she can't break out of it. Eventually, she does pass out, and we get a new NXT Women's Champion in Shayna Baszler. And Shayna celebrates with Ronda and Jessamine Duke in the crowd with that championship after the bell rings. So, Tina, I'm going to come to you first. What were your thoughts of Ember Moon versus Shayna Baszler?
I mean, it was just great to see. I mean, the whole entire match was great, and as you talked about, like the story and all of it, just the whole thing about it, and it's crazy that like we talked about like the whole hour, and the fact that they were able to build stories like this in 1 hour of TV time it's insane, because it was just really good. And it was like at this time, Ember Moon felt like she was gonna be like a future star, and Shayna, thank goodness she's hopefully eventually, like we were saying, hopefully gonna get. But I mean, at this time, Shayna just was insane, and it was just like it was awesome. I just enjoyed it. It was a great match, and I'm just I'm just really happy I went back and rewatched this pay-per-view, like honestly, because it's like I forgot how good it actually was. So this match was another one that I just really, really enjoyed, and it was a woman's match that
It was a good time. It's NXSteve.
good time.
Yeah, just like I was just while you was talking, Steve, I just went back to check like the history from Shayna Baszler, and it was like this is her first actual title win, and it's like the fact that they built her so well, and just even the fact that like Ember was always booked as like the real underdog in the story, and like getting the surprise win over at Philadelphia, and then the story they told like about like Shayna's move where she breaks her arm, then Ember like you said recreates it, and Shayna has to try and pop her own shoulder back into her socket and stuff like that. Just a really well told women's match that unfortunately not a lot of places do nowadays, and it's a real shame. And it's like one day we'll get back to that, I promise, but it's a case of just admiring it for what it was at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, the story carries this match for me. Obviously, the two performers do really good work with their efforts as well. And obviously, to be able to deliver that story, deliver the moveset pretty well and solid. For me, this ticks a lot of the boxes for the 12 minutes and 55 seconds these two ladies got. I thought they told a hell of a story. So I think it comes down to a time where we say, let's give a star rating. Tina, what's your star rating out of 5 for Ember Moon versus Shayna Baszler?
I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5 sounds good to me. NXSteve.
Yeah, I'd have to say I think a 4 is a fair judgment. I think that they just to say that, like I said, it's a well-built story. There was reason for it. It's well delivered. It's a great match. It's just obviously its placement on the card. It's there as a match to bring the crowd back down just after the hype of that ladder match. So it's a well-placed match. It's just unfortunate that what it's just come after.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's why I'm going to go a bit lower. I'm going to go for 3.5 for me on this one. I thought it was a really good match. Like I said, I really enjoyed the story. But obviously, the last match, obviously, is a very different match to this match. Obviously, it's a spot fest, the first match. Obviously, they take a journey, but it's a journey through moments rather than actually story. This is story, and story is usually more my flavor. But I don't think there was enough. They could have had more time to deliver more story to get a higher rating for me. But still, for the time they were given, I thought they did a fantastic job. And for those that are wondering, Mr. Dave Meltzer, he gives us a 3.25 star rating. Yeah, I've got that right. 3.25 star there. Sometimes the stars are pretty small on the screen there. But let's go into the comments in the meantime. We've got a couple of comments that have come flying in. We're going to start off with Ken. Do we think that Bronson Reed had a good NXT run? Yeah, it was fine. It was all right. Yeah, he had a North American champion.
Yeah, I think the momentum just died when they released him. Now I think that was the problem with that.
Yeah.
I hopefully he builds it back up, but yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing. Him and Gunther went out there and had a great match. I will say that. I mean, but it just like you said, it's one of those things that like you just have that momentum, and when something like that happens, you're just like it like takes the air out of the balloon, and it just so. I think it was good. He obviously could have done more. Obviously, won the title, but I mean, you know.
Absolutely. Maybe at some point. CD confirms it was the second match for Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 34. So there we go. Thank you for doing that. And also, we've got Roger saying here, why do wrestlers get booked good in NXT but bad on the main roster? I think, as NXT explained earlier, it comes more based down to the idea that yeah, Vince used the one word, isn't it? But
that's what happened. Yep, that's all we.
There we are, back in the days there. CD says that not a fan of main wrestlers winning NXT championships, touch championships. Should be for new wrestlers. Shinsuke Joe weren't new, but they were to WWE. Fair. We've discussed that in great depth on this channel before. So CD, take your point, totally on board with that one. Roger asking, did we watch NXT UK? I certainly did for the start of it, and then after a while, time really came out of my ability to watch these shows full time. So I watched the matches I needed to watch, which was takeovers. And if it was a Gunther Dragunov match or something like that, if it was a match that people said you need to see it, I'd go out of my way to see it. NXSteve?
Yeah, I'm the same as you, mate. Started off very, but it's just too much wrestling in the week to watch.
Absolutely. Tino?
Exactly. That's the thing. I watch it, but as you said, like if it's like a big thing or a pay-per-view or a match, like I'll go and check it out. But like honestly, like I forget about it, and there's just so much wrestling, and then like because I watch like all the other sports too, and there's just too much. Can't keep track of everything. Like there's not enough. I was talking to somebody yesterday. I'm like, we just add like an 8th day. It makes something just like an extra day, so we
just a wrestling day,
sleep. You know, there's a lot of things going on.
There'll be a new show added. We get an 8th day, so I don't know if it's going to work, my friend. That's the problem.
I don't think so either. I was just,
It's worth a try, though. It's worth a try. Zane asked, what was the worst NXT match of all time? Now, honestly, guys, I don't think we should spend ages on this because I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'm willing to come back to this question later in the stream if everyone wants to come back to it, if they think of one later.
Come back to me on it.
Yeah, I think it's probably fair. It's hard to judge. And also, being cruel to someone calling out their match as well could be a reason why
I don't think there's like a bad match. I think it's more of like they were given an opportunity and it just didn't really go anywhere. Like there's one I don't even remember who was the other person, but I just remember one match that like comes to my head that is just like, well, this guy went absolutely nowhere. So I'll save it for the end.
Okay, fair play. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do it now. Do it now, just in case, because we might agree with you.
Hey, well, it's the one. Didn't No Way Jose compete for a championship at one Takeover? I forgot what Takeover it was, but wasn't it? Was it No Way Jose or I forgot who? No,
I remember No Way Jose.
No,
Don't
No?
think so.
was it okay? Then maybe I was thinking of somebody else. But I swear I thought it was somebody like a No Way Jose or like an Adam Rose or something like that. I just feel like I thought it was like
Hey, you watch your
Listen,
mouth talking about Adam
no,
Rose.
listen,
He was a great character.
Hey, listen, I was just saying, like, other than like being like that, like what I don't know. I guess maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Apparently, his only title he ever competed for in NXT was the Progress Championship,
Oh, okay.
and that wasn't even in NXT.
no.
Oh no, like
I thought it was. I thought I saw him in a
Joe.
Takeover, but maybe it was just a random NXT that I was watching that I just saw him come out.
Maybe.
Twice to Joe apparently for the NXT Championship.
There we are. Interesting. Well, Roger says he watches WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact, and NWA, MLW.
Roger, you got too much time.
Roger,
and New Japan. I tell you what, Roger,
Preach.
love you. Honestly, that is dedication there.
Roger,
Absolute dedication. I wish I could do all of that. Unfortunately, there's just not enough time in the week for me. Unfortunately, I have to be selective with the ones that I can watch, unfortunately. But hey, credit to you. If you've got the time you can do, why not support wrestling? Love him for it. We will move on in the meantime, though, and we're going to talk about the next match, which will be the winner takes all for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, along with the NXT Tag Team Championships. It was the UE, of course, it's Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. Adam Cole, of course, was interested in the doctor's room, said he wasn't sure about this, which the crowd kind of gasped at the idea that he wouldn't come out for a second time.
They really like gasped. Like while I was watching, they really like gasped and were like that's how you know how big Adam Cole was at the time. Like everybody wanted to see Adam.
Panto crowd. I loved it. And we had Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne as well. Pre-Adam days as well. But we'll come more into that later in the match here. But obviously, there's a video package for this one as well. We get a bit of a small tribute to Dusty Rhodes. He actually mentions his love for tag team wrestling and new tag teams coming through. And we get a run through of how the tournament played out for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Obviously, making the finals was the Authors of Pain. Obviously, we saw Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong with the likes of Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch in the semi-finals, losing to Dunne and Strong, along with the Street Profits losing to AOP. It was fun to see the Street Profits in the video package. But hey, we got to the finals, and the Undisputed Era actually interfered in that final. Regal made this a freeway winner take all for TakeOver New Orleans. Short and simple as you like. And we had Dustin Rhodes and Jeff Jarrett at ringside as well, showcased before this match began. For me, really looking forward to this, and I thought that the build-up was what it kind of needed to be. NXT, there's not really too much to go into, really.
Yeah, I just like the idea that the fact that the Undisputed Era were thrown into the final of the Dusty Road Classics without wrestling any other matches. I thought that was kind of like, I like the idea of the winner takes all. It's kind of like these two teams have battled through an entire tournament to be in this match to go on and face the Undisputed Era. But now the Undisputed Era are going to win the. Do you know what I mean? They're in the win with the opportunity of winning the Dusty Rhodes Classic without ever having another match. I just thought it was Barney, but it was liked it, man. I thought it was good.
In a way, because obviously they have the titles, and obviously the other people have got their own title of their own way, so everyone puts their stakes in under one here, I guess. But yeah, I do see what you come with that indeed there. But Tino, anything you'd like to add?
No, I thought it was great, and like AOP, like I loved it. Like I love to rewatch AOP matches. AOP is one of my like favorite tag teams like around this time. Like I really just enjoyed them. They were so it was funny though, because when I was looking, I was like, wait, wasn't Roddy Strong in like Undisputed Era? I was like, wait, why is he teaming with Pete Dunne? And then obviously,
spoiler alert, man.
I know. So.
Don't need the notes anymore.
I was trying to help you out.
I like the help. CD actually says a fun fact, though, actually supports this. Pete Dunne could have become the first ever double champion in NXT that night as he held the UK title.
That's true.
Roddy Strong for you, ladies and gentlemen.
We need to see it come back. I just want to see Pete Dunne across the video board so bad on SmackDown.
Don't we all? When I saw Pete Dunne's music and see him come out, I will say this off the record now. Well, on the record, really. I just thought the glee that must be coming across, the big smile across NXT's face right now, watching this as he was watching Takeover, seeing Pete Dunne this era.
This whole show of music, man, like Undisputed Era's tunes smacked, Ricochet's smacked, Pete Dunne's smacked, Shayna Baszler's smacked. It's just like a plethora of, or even Velveteen Dream's music. It's just quality stuff, man. I mean, just a great time for if you're a fan of like obviously the entrance. I'm a massive fan of the music. It's half the work like before they even got into the ring, and it's like just a great time for wrestling with music.
We need like the WWE volume back.
Oh, they were the days. They were the days. What? I mean, I'm watching 99 on the side when I can as well at the moment. Obviously, I had the volume 4 that was around that time period, so it was great getting all those sort of tunes. So I've kind of got nostalgic with hearing a lot of them themes. But hearing Aleister Black's theme in particular when watching this show, really, that hit home. That's a home run.
Aleister Black was just incredible. Like that. Like we'll talk about the video package. Well, I think it's the next match, but it's insane.
Absolutely, indeed. Well, let's go into the match then. Let's give you the details in one there, ladies and gents. And obviously, AOP jumped the gun, jump UE before the bell, knowing Adam Cole was not 100%. And they dominate and actually get the first pinfall on Kyle O'Reilly with a powerbomb / neck break combination. No real name for it, but that's pretty much what it was. 2 counters, Adam Cole made the save. AOP thought, well, enough of that. Let's get Adam Cole out of this match. Double powerbombed Adam Cole through the announcer's table. Kyle O'Reilly left on his own. But to be fair, Kyle O'Reilly fared quite well, applying a triangle choke on Strong and then actually using an ankle lock on Akam at the same time. And the only way this could be broken up, Razor breaks up, powerbombing Pete Dunne onto Kyle O'Reilly. Chef's kiss, beautiful.
It's not even that. There's the spot that I love more than anything else is the Kyle O'Reilly bump when he stands up and falls back through the bottom 2 ropes. And he just drops and like settles it. Oh, it's such a great spot to see, man. I love it.
Absolutely. In fact, that's coming in a couple of seconds, actually, because the match obviously eventually does turn to it. Because there's some bedlam, isn't it, Stars? It's meant to be a tag team match, supposed to be tags in and out. There's none of that until they have done this spot here where Kyle O'Reilly does that submissions and breaks it through. So eventually then go to where it's tag team wrestling. And like you said, that's when we get the German suplex to Kyle O'Reilly. Like you say, the no sell before he just kind of like falls through that. That's just so hilarious. It's so fun to watch. But we see the match to continue with AOP on Roderick Strong. We see Pete Dunne get the hot tag. Does a brilliant strike off as well with Kyle O'Reilly before Akam double clotheslines both of them. We see AOP hitting a double running powerbomb there before they hit the final chapter. But Strong breaks up the pin at the 2. Strong gets back into the match, hits an Olympic slam on Razor for a 2 count. Another tag to Pete Dunne. Keep an eye. It's key these tags here. Pete Dunne back into the match. Strong blocks Kyle O'Reilly for an attempt to attack Pete Dunne. Also keep an eye on that as well. Dunne hand Strong hit double T move on AOP, which obviously then is a count of 2. A fight breaks to the floor, leaving Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly in the ring. Dunne hits the bitter end. As the ref counts, Roderick Strong decides to turn on Dunne, giving a boot to the head and hits the end of Heartache on his partner, putting Kyle O'Reilly on top for the Undisputed Era to win. And if the match wasn't so brilliant with storytelling in itself, Marlo Ronaldo might have just done the perfect end-off to this match. Nigel, I know I'm wearing glasses, but what the hell just happened? Nigel explains as well that Roderick Strong had the chance to team with the Undisputed Era before, and then he had actually now taken that opportunity. Strong takes the UE armband and puts it on his arm to the delight of Cole and Riley. We've got 2 gift faces if you look at them. It's beautiful to see. And we see all 4 members of the UE on the top of the ramp celebrating with the Dusty Cup and the tag team titles, including Bobby Fish, who's sadly injured with crutches. NXSteve, you mentioned there a couple of seconds ago, Kyle O'Reilly falling through the ring. Truly an MVP in this match here, but obviously ultimately the one to get the pinfall. What were your thoughts?
100%. Without even knowing he got the pinfall, but just 100%. Like, just a great solid tag team match. I mean, like, you must think that obviously I think Bobby Fish only got injured maybe like a month before. So the pure twist of fate that we had, that the fact that Cole's got to do double duty, which is a great story point in itself. The fact that we get the turn from Roderick Strong and he then joins the Undisputed Era, I'm sitting there thinking that this is a decision that's only been made possibly 4 weeks ago. Unless it was the original story, I don't know. And Bobby was meant to be in this spot, but the way it played out with Adam Cole being in this match, as said, just worked out a hell of a lot better. Akam and Razor, AOP, just doing what they do and just trying to destroy everyone and everything to try and become, I think it was the 2nd time Dusty Rhodes Classic winner. Pete Dunne, my boy, unfortunately getting screwed over by Roderick Strong as he normally does. Just a great storytelling match. And it was I think it was just that it was more luck than anything that it played out this way because of Bobby Fish's injury.
Absolutely. And the thing is that a fantastic note from this is, like you said, Adam Cole doing double duty, but actually spends the whole match pretty much on the floor. He takes one bump or a couple of bumps, and that's it. He's not in it for the rest of it. Kyle O'Reilly did an amazing job as well for the rest of it.
The FPOS tape around his chest as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, a fat piece of that's what they call it, man. The FPOS tape, fat piece of. But yeah, it's just a great way to sell a match that like really probably wasn't supposed to go down as well as it should have.
Absolutely, Tino. What were your thoughts of this match?
I mean, I thought it was a great match, and it was just like I said. I was talking about AOP, just seeing them again, and just seeing the Undisputed Era go out there and, do what they always did and everything like that. And this was kind of like the start and like the way like with like Roderick Strong turning and everything and joining the Undisputed Era. This was kind of like the beginning of like all the teases and everything that would lead to like War Games match with the Undisputed Era, with Pete Dunne, with AOP and all of them. So it's one of those things that is just like the story building. It just like there was little things that would happen that were just like, it was awesome. And like every single match, it seemed like something happened that would like lead into the next NXT that would come out on Wednesday that you'd be wanting to go and see, because it's like, what is Roddy doing? Why did he join? So it was great.
It's great for a cliffhanger.
And the double or nothing, like I love that. Like winner take all everything. Like put all the titles on the line.
Absolutely. It's funny enough, another company thought Double or Nothing was a good idea as well, wasn't it, in the end? But and had all the UE under their banner at one point as well. But hey, that's what it is. But no, a great match all round. And Tino, I'll go with you first. What would be your star rating for this one?
This one, I would say like 4.5. I just really enjoyed like this whole pay-per-view. So it was just all of them are very So
yeah, I don't blame you.
4.5.
NXSteve?
I'm probably going to say like 3.75. I think for the match itself, it's a bit chaotic. Not much come out of it. I think the story points are more the bigger part coming out of it. Like I said, there's just some good spots, I feel. But yeah, I think the story was the bigger part of this match.
I'm going to agree with NXT and go with the 3.75 as well. I think it's the spot at the end that bumps it from like 3.5 to 3.75 for me. Obviously, I love the chaos that's involved there. I think Kyle O'Reilly is genius with his stuff. Hope AOP are signed to WWE. I hope they come back. Would love to see them carrying cross. Different story for a different day though. But at the same time, I do feel that for me that this ticked a lot of boxes. So yeah, really, really enjoyed it. And for those who are keeping the further timestamp, shortest match on the show, 11 minutes and 42 seconds here. And Dave Meltzer, for those that wondered, gave this a 3.25 star rating. So there we go. That's everything for the tag team match. But yeah, we'll go into the comments in the meantime before we go into match 4. Zane says that Bayley's theme, Turn It Up, was the best NXT song of all time. CD actually asks if we think we'll get the hugger back or not. I'm going to say no. Tina, do you think we'll ever get her back?
I mean, Halloween is coming up. Why doesn't she just dress up as the hugger and then like rip it off and everything?
Creative, I like that.
I could see it. If Izzy's also wrestling this weekend, I just saw on her Instagram, so that would be kind of funny. Go all the way back. But yeah, no, I don't think she'd ever bring it back. She's just I think she's so known for being like this now that like her being like that again, it would just be. It's so funny because we never thought we would see her like that. And now that she is like a heel, I could never see her as like a good, like a face again.
No. NXSteve?
Yeah, no, I think the Hugger Bayley is it's a demographic character that unfortunately will never return. We'll probably get a face version of Bayley again, but just not as the Hugger ever again.
Absolutely. And CD actually agrees that would be a more serious character if she does the babyface again. I actually agree with that as well. Mike here says that Gargano Ciampa build for the Unsanctioned match is one of the best builds to any match of all time. Oh, we're going to get there, Mike. Stick with us. We're going to get, this is going to end up being probably about a 2-hour stream today, but we're going to go through all the juicy details of the build-up as well as the match of Gargano and Ciampa, and we are very close to doing so as well. But before we do get there, we do need to go to match 4 on this show, which just happens to be for the NXT Championship. We discussed it earlier on. Andrade, Cien, Almas, of course, we do the full name back then as well, with Zelina Vega versus Aleister Black for the NXT Championship. And guess what? It comes with another video package. Aleister Black showing a lot of his training backstage, obviously the kickboxing background, but he says he's got the devil on his back until he wins the NXT Championship. Everyone that's in his way has eaten a black mass. Obviously, Andrade really upset with the lack of respect while this is in the Performance Center training. We see Andrade attack Aleister Black in the NXT parking lot. Clearly, it was the most dangerous parking lot of all of WWE.
Has nobody
and wrestling.
listened? Does nobody watch these pay-per-views? Stay out of the NXT parking lot. Like,
even from then, it still was
like,
dangerous.
come on.
There you go. And we saw a chair attack in the ring as well from Andrade to Aleister Black. So short and sweet, this one, but I thought it was quite impactful for what it needed to. Tino, you said you wanted to talk a bit about this video package. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I just really seeing where especially Zelina, like she's just so good at just being how a mouthpiece and just going out there and being what she did at this time was just incredible. And the fact that Aleister Black was just this is the Aleister Black we should have seen, and that I was praying when they did those vignettes that we were going to see on the main roster. And it's when I see Aleister Black come out, I still love Aleister Black, Malachi Black, however you want to say his name. And it's just one of those things that it was just he was one of my favorite superstars at this time, and it just makes me so mad that he never got to where we thought. But like I said earlier, it's nice to still see him have the House of Black doing their thing with that. So all of it though was just it was just the video. All these video packages were just so they were just so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I thought it was a cool video package. And NXTseve, do you agree?
There's one part of the build they don't actually show, which still to this day makes me die, is the one-on-one promo Aleister Black has with Zelina. And it's you sit there and think at this present point they're dating and they're engaged and they're due to be married later on in that year. And you sit there and think about it, and it's Aleister's just making fun of her height, and it was it's a great segment. It's one of the few times that Aleister Black really opens up about it being just being a genuine person, really, and just making fun of Zelina. But no, it's a great build, and there was a lot of hopes and stuff going into this match, and this package just delivers on what it is about to happen, and we'll talk about it more afterwards. But yeah, this is just an exceptional build.
It is an exceptional build indeed here. And CD says he would never go into the NXT parking lot. Probably a clever move, if we're being honest there. I probably wouldn't do it either at this point. But we go towards the main match here, and a bit more meat on the bone for this one. We've got a super fast start with a leg attack from Black, but Black quickly hits a moonsault to Andrade on the floor for the second turnbuckle as well. Very fast pace, like I mentioned. Action goes out of the ring once again, and Black puts Andrade back in the ring once they've done their little scuffle. And as he does that, Zelina Vega comes off the apron with a hurricanrana, sending Aleister Black into the steps. And Andrade goes for a 2 count after that one because unfortunately it didn't get the job done. But Andrade has controlled the match then until he makes a springboard attempt and lands straight back into a jumping knee for strike from Black. We see quite a few strike attacks from Black as well, which shows his kickboxing background. We see Andrade hit a German suplex. Then he goes for a moonsault. Black moves, and Andrade lands on his feet, and he goes for another moonsault for a 2 count. A move we see quite frequently now, but I feel that was quite fresh back in the day then, NXTseve.
Yeah, it's this was the good thing about this match, is the fact that I always felt with Andrade that his style is very hard, almost shoot style wrestling. And then you put someone like Black in who has that explosiveness because of the mixed martial arts background, that these two are bound to do something absolute crazy. And everything I felt they did throughout this match just felt hard hitting. It felt real. This almost felt like a shoot fight. But some of the spots, like I said, it was so refreshing to watch, because this set itself aside from the rest of the card was how physically delivering this match was for me.
Yeah, like you say, the strikes are on point. It's a lot of striking from both sides. Andrade's the one you would expect to do the striking. Like Morrow says, I don't think he should do that. It's Aleister Black's game. But as he goes on, he says, actually, maybe I'm wrong with that. And we see that continue as they both go to strike each other. And we see Andrade hit a Judas effect, obviously the back spinning elbow. Yeah. And we see Aleister hitting another jumping knee strike. Both get 2 counts. And then they strike each other with high kicks, which both of them obviously go down from that point. Andrade gets back, though, gets back to the floor once again and quickly follows with a corkscrew plancha. That's a hard one to say, a bit of a tongue twister, but certainly a twist in the air from Andrade as well. Beautiful spot, Tino.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was great. And it was just like seeing the things that they were doing was like incredible. And it just seemed like the chemistry that they had together was like it just seemed like, like they went over it a lot and they just like it was just really good to see. And it was a fun match.
Truly was indeed. Obviously, we see Zelina get the title for Andrade. The ref takes that from him. As that happens, Zelina then lands a spike run at Aleister Black. 2 count for Almas at this point. Black rolls the hammerlock DDT attempt, also for a 2 count, and Black finally hits the black mass. But Vega puts Almas's foot on the rope, so it's a 2 count there. Black goes for a moonsault once again from the second rope to the floor, but this time Zelina holds onto Black, and then it actually leads to him being caught into the sort of ring apron and ropes, if you will, and we see Andrade climb to the top rope and hit a double stomp onto Black to the floor. Again, some really physical, brutal spots here, but it seems to be a pattern with this match here, NXT, obviously, where Zelina has to continue to get involved in this match.
Yeah, it's it was kind of like you're waiting for the point where it becomes like the glue becomes undone with it, but like there was just a narrative for that point with Andrade, like his whole run, all his defenses, any match he would have, Zelina was always a key point there. And like Tino said at the start, just as a mouthpiece alone, she's great, but like she was like what. I suppose she was almost like what Dakota was to Raquel Rodriguez. Do you know what I mean? Like just that person there that was able to help add something to these matches, because there were so many times throughout this match where you're like, especially like you said, the black mass, and then Zelina just pops that foot up on the rope. It's just such like it's perfect storytelling, man. It's just so good to watch.
Absolutely, indeed, there. And obviously, just before we go to Tino, then we go into the sort of final details here of this match. Obviously, they were continuing to fight on the apron once again, but before they do, actually, another black mass attempt from Black. I can't forget this. Andrade doing a drop kick into the back of the head. That actually looked really brutal looking spot there. They talk about the physicality between these two, but they go back onto the apron. Andrade hitting the double knees while Aleister Black is sort of laying against the ring post. The ref asks if he can continue. Didn't really see a yes, but the match does continue regardless. Andrade looked like he was going for a draping, depending on what you want to call it, hammerlock DDT. Black then gets back in and actually does a backdrop to Andrade to the floor, follows this with a dive over the top rope, which obviously lands on Andrade. They get back into the ring, but Andrade quickly lands a hammerlock DDT at last, but it's a 2 count. Zelina then, we mentioned here, we're going to wait for it to go wrong, goes for a crossbody from the top rope. Black ducks, but Andrade catches up. Of course, when Black turns, he goes straight into a black mass and, of course, gets the 1, 2, 3 and a brand new NXT champion. A brilliant way to finish that match as well, with that sort of brilliant looking spot there with the black mass. Tino, what were your thoughts with Andrade versus Aleister Black?
Yeah, that whole ending sequence was great, and it just like the whole match was like really good. And I just like it, like I was saying earlier, like the fact that Andrade and like Aleister were like pretty much main eventing and like for the top championship, where like now we're seeing like Carmelo, and then we're seeing like guys like it's crazy to think about. Like these were the two guys that like possibly could have been like future WWE World Champions, and we obviously see where things have went. But it's just like we know that they have it in them, and Andrade is the one that makes me so mad, because I just wish we would see him a little bit more. And I know he's kind of doing things, he's kind of coming back a little bit, but at this time with Andrade and with Zelina, like seeing Zelina go out there and do the things, and like she's doing it now, and now she's finally having her time to shine, where she's getting over the LWO. She's got all these things. She was in a video game. I think she's in the Mortal Kombat video game. So it's just like it's one of those things that it was just so cool to see, and like see like where they've, and I still think it's crazy that they were dating. And as Steve was saying, he's sitting there making fun of her. It's like Aleister probably got yelled at when he went home. So it was just like, but Aleister winning the championship too with this was just like, it was great, because he finally, as they said, he finally got that off his back. He won the title, and he finally did it. So,
yeah, absolutely.
It was really good. I want to give it like a 3.5 too. I'll get to the star rating too while we're at it.
I like it. NXT, what are your thoughts with this match?
Yeah, like I said earlier, man, just a physically hard-hitting match. Like Andrade just has that ability to hit some of these moves, and you're like, my God, this guy looks like he should be killing him. But I mean, for me back then, the NXT title was just like the most prestigious thing in wrestling. Like the lineage that title carried. Like there wasn't, like you can't really name like you'd have to go back several years to find a bad championship run. Do you know what I mean? Everyone, like, you think about it, Drew McIntyre carried this belt, Aleister Black carried it, Gargano, Ciampa. Like, at that time, this title was so important. And like, I remember watching it and just being annoyed that this wasn't the main event, because I was like, for me, it's always a thing. If it's a world title on the line, it has to be your main event, regardless of whatever the story is. It's your world title, it should be top of the card. And I just felt bad because, like I said earlier, I don't think Black ever main evented a takeover as champion, and I think it's criminal, man. It's just a shame that, although he's doing some pretty cool stuff now in AEW, like, I really want him. I'd love to see him come back to WWE and like try and like launch himself back to the main event scene as an individual person, like as an individual performer.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Triple H at the helm, I think there'd be more chance of that happening. It's criminal to think that it feels like this was his peak at this moment, because since then he was waiting for someone to knock on his door for most of the time. Obviously, Halloween didn't come quick enough for trick or treaters for him. But when it comes to like AEW, obviously the trio stuff is great, but at the same time, I do feel to myself like, this guy, why has he not gone for the top belt? I don't know the reasons for why, but hey, look. Ultimately, I say this match, like you say, hard-hitting, really good, physical, striking type of match. Different sort of match as well. Great variety for the rest of the show. This was a fun one to watch, and I'm going to give it a 4-star. I think I was torn between 3.75 and 4, but I think the 4 is the fair one for this here, because there's the way the match ends is so beautifully done as well, and I think it just really adds the extra layer of flavor. But just to add one more comment, NXSteve actually mentioned that it's a shame he didn't get to defend in the main event of a Takeover as champion. He didn't even lose the championship on a Takeover. It was on an NXT weekly TV show to Tommaso Ciampa.
That's right. Johnny Gargano cost him the match, but yeah, it's just cool. Like I said, I think he can come back and do bigger things again, and like, I'd be really excited to see him back in WWE. As for my match rating, I'd go 4.25. I just love the physicality of this match. I just thought it was so good, hard hitting. The controversial styles of wrestling, like Andrade being the hard hitter, and I love people like Aleister Black and Ricochet for the fact that at any point they can pull out a super kick or a knee or anything, and it just one of them wow moments where the whole match can just change.
Absolutely, indeed. I have to agree with you there, and. Well, Big Dave, we like to call him Big Dave sometimes. 4.25 star as well. He gives the rating for this one, and the match was 18 minutes and 19 seconds.
It was that long, really? I thought it was only like 13. Oh, wow.
Yeah. It flew by. Absolutely
flew by.
Sometimes
these matches, they like feel like they're long, and they're like they are long, but they don't feel like it. And sometimes they're like not long, and they feel like it. It's just like...
Absolutely. CD agrees with NXSteve, by the way. The world title match should always main event, even if it isn't the best storyline. I have to agree. Feel for CM Punk as well back in 2012. Always was the bridesmaid to John Cena storylines back in the day. Always. CD also says even Brody King got a world title match before Malachi Black. That is crazy. Although Brody King, for me, I think could be a breakout star in the future. The dude's a beast. Absolute beast. I'm a big fan of Brody King. Really enjoyed his Ring of Honor days back in the time as well before he joined AEW. Zane says, have you ever been to an NXT show or pay-per-view? Tina, probably more likely than myself.
Yeah, I actually went to, because I went to that the Survivor Series weekend in 2019. So I went to War Games that Saturday night. We went to SmackDown, War Games, and then Survivor Series. So that will probably, and we'll talk about it later, but yeah, that was the one I went to, and I'm going to Survivor Series again this year. So they need to stop making tickets. It's going to be a disaster. I just real quick, I want to say that stop selling tickets. they keep opening more tickets. It's like, how many people are we going to fit in that stadium? Like,
you'll be standing soon. There won't be seats.
Man, I pay good money. I want them on to sit. I want to relax. But yeah, no. So that was the only one I've been to. I was supposed to go to the Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa one that was in Chicago. But I think that was that like the last man standing or something like that, or I forgot what match type that was. But I was supposed to go to that one, but we did not end up going. So those were the only two.
NXT, have you been to an NXT show or pay-per-view?
I haven't, unfortunately. I missed the opportunity to go to NXT London when it was over here, Takeover London. I missed it, and then I was waiting for NXT UK to start doing takeovers again. Unfortunately, we never got one with like in or around London. Unfortunately, I think, which was criminal. There was either like I can't remember where they were. Blackpool, I think it was one in Ireland, and never any, unfortunately, in or around London.
No. Obviously, myself, I'm actually not in the UK, not in the States. So, yeah, not had the opportunity, unfortunately. But never say never in the future. You never know.
Did you move again?
Well, I've not been in the UK. I'm either in Sweden or the Canary Islands, depending on the time of the week. So yeah,
Gotcha,
time
okay.
of the week, time of the month usually. But yeah,
Oh,
Sweden currently for anyone that is wondering. So yeah, that's where
Vacation
I'm
to
at.
Sweden. Hey now.
Absolutely. It's getting cold. Been asked the question here from Ray asking, did we like the $1 Million Man run in NXT? Yeah, I did. I had LA Knight, had Cameron Grimes, had everything he needed. I enjoyed it.
I always say this about that rivalry. They're always all about LA Knight now. Go back and watch that because that's when LA Knight started, and that's when he was starting to get, I always talk about, they're like, who's LA Knight when, like, because everybody thinks LA Knight started when he was with the Maximum Male Models. It's like, no, LA Knight is $1 Million Man. Cameron Grimes is his butler. It was a good time. So
great stuff, man.
It was entertaining.
I really enjoyed it.
Great television.
Absolutely. And he started as Eli Drake. Yeah,
that's exactly.
CD says, when you're having fun, time goes by. And same thing in wrestling, which is when a good match goes by, it goes fast. Absolutely, indeed. I said the low match doesn't even feel half an hour. That's how good it is. And yeah, the chance to go to NXT in 2017, the decision will haunt me for the rest of my life because I never got to see the old NXT in person. If you get a chance, always should go. And he said the same with TNA in 2013. That also decision was also dumb. Hey, you might get chances in future. And you went to Collision this past week. That couldn't have been a bad decision. Looked like a hell of a show that you went to. Quickly, guys and girls, we're at 1 hour 34 in the stream. We're going to go to the main event match of this stream as well, which will be Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa. Before we do, please smash that like button, hit it with a DIY double kick to sort of help us out, help the algorithm on YouTube.
30 likes minimum, Steve. You got 30 likes minimum. Come on.
Well, let's see if we can get that. We'll see if the ones that are here can do that, then maybe we can get there.
There are 6 people. It's at least 6 likes. We got 6 people in the house. Six likes at least.
That's what we need right now. But hey, could bring some more people. Maybe we can get the 30 in. Because if they're coming now, they're coming to the good stuff. Yeah. Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa in an unsanctioned match is the main event of this show. So without further ado, we can have a video package we're going to discuss. But I'm first off trying to get to my comments. CD just says it was a smart decision going to Collision. Absolutely, you should do that. It should go to other AW events if you get the opportunity. Anyway, going to go back then to the main match then. Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa. We see a contract being signed backstage from Johnny saying that, well, basically can't sue WWE for whatever happens in the match. You know, Ciampa had signed the same thing. And if Johnny wins, he's back on the NXT roster, loses, and he's gone for good. Going into the video package, DIY starting together in NXT, winning the tag team titles in a match of the year, and it was a match of the year against the Revival at TakeOver Toronto. They traveled the world together for the last 12 years, but they lose those tag team titles to the AOP. And then we see the turn of Ciampa on Johnny Gargano. Johnny sitting there, and we see Johnny and Ciampa sort of back and forth sitting, looking at the camera, almost having a debate, a discussion, if you will, even though they're not together. Johnny asks why. I saw you as my brother and best friend. Didn't think you was capable of this. Ciampa says, you did this to yourself. You're so selfish. Are we even going to talk about me tearing about my ACL in that match? DIY was carried by me, but it was always about you. Johnny says, well, that's in his head. DIY was something special. Ciampa decided this isn't our moment. It's my moment. And when I return, I will be the most dangerous SOB in NXT. But of course, then he wasn't there. He was injured. He was gone for quite a while. Johnny needed to be Johnny again, needed to be Johnny wrestling. But of course, he got himself to an opportunity where he would challenge for TakeOver Philly for the NXT title against Andrade. That's when Ciampa would come back and attack Johnny with a crutch at the end of that TakeOver. Johnny says, well, if he can't win the NXT title, he would leave NXT. So he'd get one more crack at Andrade. And of course, Ciampa would say here, he calls him selfish. He wanted Johnny to have his moment, just so he could rip it straight from his heart. We see the wave then from Ciampa as he manages to get rid of Johnny Gargano forever after smashing him with a crutch. The promos with the fans being on top of Ciampa, him saying he's gone and the fans going absolutely mental to the point we see him actually staring down at the old lady, which I still remember to this day. Bless her. I hope she's all right. We see Johnny then in the crowd attacking Ciampa in the NXT arena. Ciampa says that NXT New Orleans, he says that he's going to take Johnny's spirits, his soul, his heart, and Johnny Wrestling and everything that it stands for. It will end. Johnny says, I will finally have my moment. We'll hear Ciampa whisper in the background, this is my moment. For me, this has to go down as one of the best video packages ever. It doesn't have every single detail of the build-up here, but as you can see, there was a lot of heavy detail in the NXSteve.
There isn't a lot of detail in there because the rest of it happens in the match. This is why this is so good, this feud. It's like, if you want to go back, if you just turn around and say anyone, go pick a storyline to go and watch that leads to matches to watch, Gargano Ciampa is the one, man, because the amount of storytelling that from the little things like the crutches, the knee braces, just everything in general. Like obviously everything that's yet to come after this as well. Obviously, we know Vince balls it up for everyone, but you know what we had up until that point was just simply fantastic. But yeah, it's like you said, half of it is done in the promo, the other half is done in the ring because this is absolutely fantastic.
It is, but the thing is that the half that we get in that video package, for me, I still think it's a top level video package.
Yeah,
I think it's right. It's what I mean. I'm not, Rock and Austin, Mania 17 is still the best one ever. But outside of that, this one for me is definitely in that conversation of a bracket of like when you go to video packages talking about, because we've got everything in there that we need to this point, Tino.
Yeah, and I mean, like we were talking about it, like now, like we see 5 years later, we see DIY, they're fighting Imperium on Monday Night Raw right before Halloween, and it's just like, I'm sure if they go and they bring this rivalry back, I'm sure they're going to take bits and pieces from that video package and then add more to it, because that's how deep the story goes. Like it was cool to see from like the tag team, that I'm doing this, to the turn, to the crutch, to the everything, and it was just like this, those video packages sometimes, like if you haven't seen it, and sometimes like that's why I always go back and watch them, because there were things in the rivalry, instead of going back and watching all the NXTs they showed, and I was like, oh yeah. So it was just awesome, and it was just so good. And as Steve said, this is one rivalry that, like, going back and watching this match, the one from Chicago, the one from all, like, they were all so good. And yeah.
It was awesome. And the thing is, this, like you say, it's the first of what's like a big trilogy of what these guys do. It's incredible stuff. And yeah, like you say, NXT, the rest of what happens in the match, what we're going to get next, absolutely poetic and beautiful. But obviously, you just mentioned there, Tino, about the fact that they would bring out this sort of story. These two guys are going to be intertwined forever. It's kind of like the KO and Sammy, the next generation of it. We've seen them do it on the main roster, backwards and forwards. Gargano and Ciampa, I'm sure, will be in that conversation as well. But in the meantime, we will go and talk about the entrances, something that we don't always do here, but what we will do for this one, because Tommaso Ciampa does something a bit different. We mentioned the music's amazing on this show. Well, Ciampa comes out to complete silence. Boos and a-hole chants.
Ciampa's got the best music out of everyone on the night. What are you talking about?
Well, he has the best reaction, because you hear everything.
Has anybody ever been booed that loud? I mean, besides Dominic, but like
they're piping that in, apparently. Yeah, no, I mean, we've got boos, we've got a-hole chants from the crowd, we've got obviously the "you suck" chants.
It was so nice to not hear it bleeped out every 4 seconds either. Like compared to like watching NXT last night to watching this, like, oh my god, like I get it, but like the bleeping out is just like it's just come on.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll give the initials FU chants, and we've got Johnny Wrestling as well going there. But I loved also the moment where Ciampa just stands on the turnbuckle, and obviously there's no mic there, but you can hear him perfectly because it's just pitch silence apart from the crowd chanting him like, "This is my moment," and just soaking it in. It's almost like it feels like a Jericho, like, "Drink it in, man." It's just very like, one of those sort of moments. I thought it was really, really well done. Obviously, we got Johnny Gargano, his music coming down as well. And we obviously have the unsanctioned match. But yeah, let's get into it. This has obviously got a lot of detail. And just to pre-warn everybody, this match is 36 minutes and 58 seconds. And obviously,
it did not feel like it when I watched it. That's crazy.
It's crazy indeed. It's a long match between these two. But what I will say as well, obviously, if Gargano wins, he goes back to the NXT roster, reinstated. If he loses, gone for good. So that's the aim of the game here. And obviously, most matches started with quick attacks. You've probably noticed that being a familiar theme here with this stream. With this one, starts with a stare down. These two just look at each other for a few seconds before anything actually happens. Before, of course, both men go with the punches from the big roar from the crowd. We get a swing shot spear early from Johnny Gargano and boots in the corner trying to get that revenge on Ciampa nice and early. But obviously Johnny then does a dive through the ropes to Ciampa on the outside. He then does the same to Ciampa into the crowd over the guardrail, which I thought was a really cool looking spot. Loving the fact as well this went into the crowd nice and early, NXSteve.
Yeah, this is the thing was I can't remember many times before where they've had an unsanctioned match in NXT, so it's kind of like, right, there's no rules here. Like, hopefully this is done and produced right. Like we've seen so many times before where we've had rope breaks and a no DQ match. Do you know what I mean? We've had all those kinds of things that you nitpick at, and it's like you sit there and go with this one. And you're like, right, what is going to happen? And it's like, even like I said, the way we get the stare down, and it's like, okay, we're not expecting this. It's kind of like we don't know what we're going to get with this match, and that's the key thing with it. And this is what starts it off so well. Like I've said earlier, to do with the story is that we're expecting these guys to just literally start throwing fists at from the second the bell goes, but these guys are just staring each other out and build from there, man. It's just fantastic.
Absolutely, Tino.
It was just great. And the fact, and it, like they always say, like the best best of friends always work the best together. And it's like, it was just insane. And just watching it, like you could just see it, and you could sit there and just feel it. It was great.
I have to agree there. The
and that lighting, I don't know about the lighting in NXT, but it just felt different. I don't know. That lighting was just...
Yeah, it's not so bright. It's more darkened down. Yeah. Obviously, they're focused solely on the action, and the crowd are not all necessarily the focus, but you know they're there because you can hear them. They're loud for everything. Yeah. But obviously, they go into the story and the emotion of this match. They're quiet, but they need to be quiet. It just shows the testament to the athletes involved in this one. But obviously, we mentioned that they're fighting in the crowd at this point. Obviously, we need to get them back out of the crowd, back into the ringside area. Ciampa does that by actually picking up Johnny Gargano for a suplex, but actually dropping him on the rail, ribs first there. Quite brutal looking. It follows up with a backbreaker on the floor, which to this day, I still think, what's the point? Hitting the knee still, you might as well at least hit the concrete floor if you're going to make him do it. But Ciampa then pulls away the protective mat on the floor, which for me, that's where my immediate thought goes, this is going to get dangerous. When that mat's coming up, something nasty is going to happen at some point in this match as well with an unprotected, exposed concrete floor. But Ciampa attempts the suplex on that floor. Johnny escapes. He actually gets himself up to the apron, runs off, hits a kick there before actually sending Ciampa flying over the announcer's table into the announcer as well. So much the commentary is disappearing for a short time as well. The fact that we don't even hear the commentators for a few times. And obviously Gargano attempts a table spot, but it's stopped by Ciampa, who suplexes Johnny off the table to the concrete floor. This is with the mat at the time. Ciampa then lands a back suplex to Johnny on part of the table that is balanced on the announcer's table. Again, another brutal looking spot here. For me, this match is only about 5 minutes old at this moment, but to NXSteve, I just see violence.
Yeah, it's just like it's gone from the point of not knowing what's going to happen to the extreme straight away, and the way Johnny sells bouncing off that flimsy piece of plastic or whatever it is they put on top of those announcers tables, just unbelievable work from the pair of them.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, that this has already gone. It's going really personal, really quickly. There's no feel-out process here between these two, Tino.
Yeah, I mean, they just did not like each other at this time, and it's just and you could just tell by literally, you said it's 5 minutes in, and these two were just destroying each other, and they were already destroying the arena. It's like I feel like they do it in the main event. They're like, we're just gonna help the crew out. We're just gonna start destroying everything because the announce table goes, the thing goes, all of it. I mean, it was just incredible, and it was just matches like that is like NXT was saying about the championship match being the main event. It was this is probably one of the reasons why this match is just because it's just so brutal and everything else like that. But it just they went out there and just tore it down and just literally tore the arena down.
Absolutely, and the thing is, you get them big spots nice and early in the match, and lets you know what you've walked into with this one here. They're not mucking about here. But actually, one of my favorite parts of the match is when they slow it down, which is what they do straight after this, because Ciampa puts a Texas cloverleaf on Johnny Gargano, and two reasons why this is one of my favorite moments of the match. One, love a cloverleaf. I don't know why it's not used more these days, or not why it's not used as a finishing move. For being brutally honest, big Malenko mark me. But at the same time, Johnny gets to the ropes. No rope break, unsanctioned match. The rules are followed as it meant to be done. It's not forgotten. And when it gets to the ropes, we're not breaking it. You're still stuck in it. Gargano has to sort of force his way out of it, which of course then Ciampa then helps release the hold, but then brutally kicks Johnny repeatedly in the back of the neck. You see him then get onto the ring apron, does the classic applaud himself and a pat on the back, and then we actually see a running knee strike to Johnny, who's just leaning on the side of the ring apron. For me, beautifully violent, if I do say so, but it's slowed down at this point, Tina, that it's not just in your face.
Yeah, and that was like as I was watching, like you could totally tell like when like the momentum went from like this to that, and like sometimes it's good because long matches like that, it just like takes a lot out of you, and it's just like it's sometimes it's good like that, and like the story that they like we were saying like the beginning, like them not saying nothing was like still telling something, and it just like it was great to watch them go out there and be able to do both and just like go and like be able to make it flow a certain way so it wasn't so like I can't think of the word, but yeah.
Like just like a normal wrestling match, for example. Do you know what I mean? It's like it was just like they're able to just completely divert away from what we normally see on a wrestling show.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just a case of here's two guys having a wrestling match.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
the way to say it.
I mean, the thing is, it's a roller coaster. It's a journey. And the thing is, on the journey, you have different twists and turns all throughout it. And obviously, we mentioned the first match. You didn't even have a chance to breathe. Spot after spot after spot. Big move after big move. Here you had to slow things down, which meant you really felt what was going on. You really felt the emotion. You really felt the hatred. You really felt for Johnny, who couldn't get out of this hold here. It was just, you had those violent levels to the point that when it's actually, well, now we're going to slow it down because everything's going to hurt more. It just, for me, I thought was a really, just a fun little ingredient that was added into this match just by slowing it down. I thought it was the perfect time to do so as well, to continue to tell that story. And of course, comes to an interesting part of the story after this, because then Ciampa steals some crutches from a poor guy at the front of the crowd. Instead of the security helping the guy at the front of the crowd, he escorts him out.
Right? Like, what were we doing? At first, I was like, is that a superstar? I'm like, what are we doing here? So he just...
Sorry, mate, can't have those in here. They're now involved in the ring. Get out. You know what I mean? It's just,
They said thanks for the crutches.
The fact that he took the crutches out, I thought was a very, like, pre-WG moment. Like, when was the last time someone took something off of a member of the audience? Like, it's a very, like, AEW thing now. But, like, for then, you're like, man, they actually legitimately used to do this in the 80s. Like, used to get people giving them chairs and walking sticks and someone's prosthetic legs, you know what I mean? So I actually quite enjoy it. I thought it was funny just watching some guy who clearly isn't like suffering with a broken knee trying to hobble away.
At one point he was hopping, he was like standing there, he was like, and I don't think that they were helping him for a second, and then they like ran over there and helped him. I'm like,
security guard basically dragging the guy out quickly, and it's like, dude, you might just pick him up and carry him at this rate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would have made more sense, wouldn't it, at this point? But hey, it's what it is. But still, fun. It adds humor if nothing else. It doesn't really take away from the match so much, but excuse me. But ultimately get back into the match anyway after the crutches are brought in here. But Ciampa attempts to use the crutches, but Johnny gets out and eventually lands a kick. And there are many teases to actually using as well the exposed concrete floor. We see like a suplex attempt from inside the ring. We see white noise attempt from Ciampa, but eventually Johnny Gargano powerbombs Ciampa to the floor in that exposed area. I don't know, but I have always winced when I see that sort of moment in NXSteve.
Yeah, it's like you say it's like it's an exposed floor, and it's like you got to imagine it probably does suck, and you're like, like you really wish that they don't do it, but then you can tell like Johnny's done his best to try and protect him, like because like he's tried to almost half the fall damage by like bending his knees, so like he's really low to the ground. So like I know what you mean. It is a scary sight to see, but like when you can see, like we're a lot wiser to the product nowadays. But when you can see like their opponent is taking measures to make sure they're safe, it's always just a reassuring thing with it.
Absolutely, Tino.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, not a good time. It did not look. Yeah, ow. That's it. That's literally what I saw. I was like, ouch. It's just like, yeah, like I said earlier, like there's sometimes these things happen. I'm just like, well, it hurts me. I'm just like, I don't like, like you said, he
Absolutely.
tried, but
They got back. They both got back up, and they both got back into the ring at the same time as well. Different corners as well as they went there, and we saw a tug of war over that crutch in there. And obviously, Johnny wins, which means there was many swings of that crutch. Obviously, Johnny lands a swing shot DDT as well for a 2 count after using the crutch a few times. Good to see as well getting that revenge there. Swing shot as well into Ciampa's knee, which was then followed by a tilt-a-whirl powerbomb for a 2 count from Ciampa. Ciampa then does the DIY knee to Johnny as well. Obviously, getting some great heat for that and near fall for a 2 count. Johnny gets back into the match though, goes for a reverse Rana, but doesn't quite get all of it. Got to be honest, there was one move that didn't go slightly right there, but Johnny does put on the Johnny escape to Ciampa. Ciampa gets to the rope, so of course again no rope break. Beautiful, love this. Obviously then we're getting the comeback, the pace is going up with it as well. They roll back into the ring, but Ciampa gets into the eyes of Johnny Gargano to get out of the submission. Ciampa then lands a crutch shot, then lands a powerbomb to the knees for a 2 count. Both men get to their knees, and slowly Ciampa says this is his moment. Strikes begin between the two of them. Johnny gets the best of them before running with Ciampa onto his shoulders, throwing into an exposed middle turnbuckle, which had been exposed earlier in the match as well. Gargano goes for his own DIY kick for a finish, but unfortunately, again, a 2 count at this moment. Gargano then goes to the top rope. The two exchange again until Ciampa gets the better of it. And this is where I'm going to stop again because a brutal spot, this one. Ciampa powerbombs Johnny Gargano onto his knees from the buckle. Somehow it's a 2 count for a monster pop from the crowd, Tino.
yeah, I don't know. The some of these moves that these guys do is just like insane, and it's just like I don't know, like when I saw it, I was just like, how did he do that? And like, does like a person move that way? And like, so yeah, I mean, not a good time for them, but I mean, it looked good. It looked cool. I was all for it.
It looked cool indeed, but I did feel for Ciampa's knees there, NXTseve.
Yeah, no. Oh, knee
But
problems are the best too.
But this is what I'm saying. This was what I was just about to say. This is the whole point about the story, though, because this is exactly that point: is that Ciampa doesn't have a good knee. He's wearing that brace for a reason. So the fact that he's putting off such a high risk maneuver, doing a power bomb to the back of the knees, or like always almost like a reverse lumbar check. Do you know what I mean? Kind of thing. And the fact that he does it off the turnbuckle, which then starts the whole problem with the knee. This is what I mean. This is why this story is so good with this match.
Absolutely, yeah, it does. It tells quite a great tale between these two, especially like you said there. Ciampa wins go to whatever lengths there to get that moment. Excuse me, but obviously then Ciampa then, as you mentioned there, the knee starts causing problems, so he actually takes off the knee brace. He takes the pads off as well. It exposes the knee, no protection. As he runs and trying to land the knee on Johnny's head, Johnny uses that brace to hit Ciampa's repaired leg. Johnny then breaks the crutch in the corner. Looks like he's going to go for an attack, but stops. He just doesn't seem like he can do it. The heart creeps in, the DIY, the memories, everything comes flooding back to him. You see Ciampa sort of just sitting there as well with a bruised eye, by the way. I've noticed they took a bit of a shiner in this match here. And to the point then they actually see Ciampa, like they sit next to one another. As Johnny sits down though, we see Ciampa actually attempts to use the knee brace, but obviously a bit of a ploy from Johnny. He ducks and applies the Johnny escape, but then transitions into an STF and uses Ciampa's knee brace for leverage instead of usually the pull, and that got the submission victory. Ciampa obviously looked gruesome the way his body and spine was all bent in two. Absolutely fantastic the way that it's actually done for the finish of the match. Obviously, Johnny reinstated back to NXT. Candice and Ray coming to ringside, celebrating with Johnny after the match. And then, of course, as the show goes off the air, Johnny holds the crutch and the brace up hand in hand. Honestly, for me, outstanding encounter, breathtaking, cinema, dare I say, NXT.
Cinema.
The metaphor alone in the fact that he uses the brace to force Ciampa to tap out is just poetic in itself. Like the fact that essentially the Ciampa's knee is what basically started this whole thing, is him blowing out his knee, and the fact that Johnny has to use the like a knee brace to make him submit. Unreal, man. Like I said, I love this match, and just what a pure great moment of storytelling for just wrestling itself. Like I sit there and struggle and think to myself, like, I can like pick certain matches, but I think as a rivalry, like this has got to be one of the greatest rivalries ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, from top to bottom, and obviously, we like you said, we're scratching the surface here. They do 2 more takeovers after this, but Tino, like this match, unsanctioned from start to finish, bell to bell. Wow, what a story, what a chapter.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was great, and it was just all everything that we needed. Like after watching the pay-per-view, and then like just like this video package from beginning to end, and then seeing just all of it, and like you guys were saying, how it started with the knee, and then he had to use the knee brace, and it was funny. It was like, it looked like we were watching a scary movie. It looked like he was trying to like put it onto him and like strap it to him or something, and it was just like like you said, like his body twisted all like weird, and it was just the whole entire thing was great, and it was just like. And Johnny got his win. And I remember, I think at this time too, didn't Johnny not get like a few wins? And this was kind of like one of those wins that Johnny finally got too. I think, right? No.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, obviously, he was off the NXT roster at this point, so he'd won his way back on.
So yeah, so it's just one of those things that it was like, yeah, I mean, winning his way back on was great, and seeing him celebrate with Candice was just like, and it's just one of those things that was just really cool, and this just rivalry, like these are like matches that I would still go back, like I would go back and watch this like next 6 months from now or something, just like I wish they would do, like I know they kind of do it, but I wish they would do it where they would put like. I don't. They may have where like they put all the matches of these two like together, so we could just watch them back to back. But I mean, it was just the whole thing was great, and then their match in Chicago was good. Like it was just all of them.
Absolutely, yeah. All the feels with these ones. Fantastic stuff indeed, and probably not the most difficult question I'm going to ask you today. Start with NXSteve. Star rating out of 5.
I know for a fact that Meltzer blows this one out of the water. I'm pretty sure he goes higher than 5, but for me, I have to go 5.
Tino?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a 5 for me. I mean, yeah.
5 from me as well. And Dave Meltzer also gives this a bang on 5-star rating. Also,
he does. I thought he went for higher.
Yeah, double checking it is. Yeah, it is 5. I'm just double checking it is going to be confirmed. Yeah, it is confirmed 5 stars. Yeah, just making sure that I've not missed a small star because it's quite small on the screen now. The website does it, but it is 5-star rating indeed there. So yeah, I mean that is also the end of that show as well. So I suppose I could ask then, what is your final rating? We give a score out of 10 for this one, Tino, of NXT Takeover New Orleans.
I mean, I gotta give it like 9 out of 9.999. I mean, like I would give it I guess I would just give it a 10 at this point. But I mean, like I thought it was just like all around a great show. It was a great pay-per-view. It was a great, and like I said, I just rewatched it, and I felt like I was watching it for the first time. So it's just like, and when pay-per-views make you feel that way, like they're really good. So
absolutely. And NXT, what would be your score out of 10?
It's hard for me to honestly not give it a 10. Like, it's that good that the fact for me, it's a perfect pay-per-view. All the decisions, all aside maybe 2 are predictable. Like, just a great show in itself. I'm not going to give it a 10 and be as much of a mark as I am, but I'm going to be like Tino. I'm going to say like 9 3/4 out of 10.
Yeah, I see where we're going with this because like 10 out of 10 is like greatest show of all time level. So yeah, I will do the same. I'll do I'll do a Tino. I'm gonna do 9.99 reoccurring. There we go.
Is that the new thing we're gonna do it?
Pretty much, yeah. It's as close to 10 as possible without giving it a 10. But yeah, for me,
funny.
it's a near on perfect show because if you're going with your GM mode from start to finish, 5-star classics, both sides of the board, your bookings are perfect.
I was gonna say that earlier. I was gonna be like, we're in like GM mode. We're like ranking the matches.
Absolutely. And all the middle stuff there is good. Obviously, great storytelling. We've got shocking twists. We've got title changes. There's stuff happening all throughout the show. And yeah, I think like this is as close to perfection of a show as you're going to get when it comes to a show. And I'm going to then ask a more difficult question. NXT, favorite match on the show? Or best match on the show, in your opinion?
As much as I'd love to say the main event, because it is a piece of artwork, but it's like I am such a spot monkey, and it's like I do love a gimmick match, and like And Adam Cole being the first ever North American champion, like I popped hard when he won that, man. It was sad. Like with Johnny and Ciampa, it's like they're going to do this another couple of times. But like I said, I just think it's a perfect ladder match. So I'm going to say for me, the North American ladder match.
Tino.
I mean, well, since Steve just took mine because I was gonna say that, but no, that's okay. I mean, no, the ladder match was good, but I mean, I think a very I think the Andrade and the Aleister Black is one that was really good. That like I'll just be a little different, just not to pick Johnny and Tommaso because as NXSteve they did do it a few more times, everything, but. I really enjoyed rewatching Andrade and Aleister and just seeing that rivalry and seeing like Zelina and that, like I said, just seeing where they're at now, and it's just one of those things. So I'll say Aleister and
Andrade.
Yeah, Andrade. Forgot Andrade for a minute there.
For a moment, I asked the questions, then I realized, hang on, I've got to answer this question as well. And I had a Homer Simpson moment where I was just like, don't make me choose. But I will choose. I will choose. The thing is, I love a ladder match. Ladder matches are my favorite types. So in a way, I should go with that. But I'm also a story guy. Stories are what I'm into when it comes to wrestling. And I've got to say, that story with Johnny and Ciampa is near perfection. So I'm going to say Gargano and Ciampa does just edges it for me.
All three of them have the shout to say that they're the best match on the card, like for all different reasons, man. Like they're unbelievable.
Absolutely. Well, then that leads to a further question, and then we'll go to our chat to finish things off. Is this the best takeover ever? NXT, I'm going to start with you.
I think it is for the pure fact that for me the only other option is New York, which is the following year of the Mania. Don't get me wrong, New York has some fantastic matches. It has Walter versus Gunther. It has War Machine versus Aleister Black and Ricochet for the tag team titles. It has a fatal four-way for the women's match. The one thing that lets it down for me is that 2 out of 3 falls main event, Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano, where Johnny Gargano eats about 400 finishers and kicks out of every single one. And Cole takes 1, loses. And it really, really grinds my gears. Because if you look at this one and you look at Ciampa versus Gargano, it's an even split of kicking out of impossible moves. Same with Andrade and Aleister Black, same thing, like both kicking out of impossible spots, like you don't think they're going to do it. So for me, New Orleans is the best one, but New York has a very great shout, just purely for that Walter Pete Dunne match alone.
I wanted to laugh because I knew immediately where the hiccup is for you, and it's exactly the same for me with New York with that match there. Tino, I want to get your take. Is this the best takeover ever?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have like my own favorite takeover, but that's obviously just because like I was there live. But like out of the ones like that I was not there for, like this one was like really good. Like, and there was like a lot of them that like I still would like to rewatch, but like from the ones that I have, like this one just all around the matches, the flow, the way the matches were set up, like it was just like they let into them good. There wasn't like any like too much downtime. It was just all around really good, but. Yeah.
What did you go to? War Games 2019?
Huh?
Did you go to War Games 2019?
Yeah. So, yeah, that was just always my favorite. Because seeing the War Games live, the War Games match live, I think we had Riddle and, was it Riddle and Gargano, I think, maybe? I forget.
No, it's Riddle. It's Angel Garza and Isaiah Swerve Scott. Then you've got the women's, which is the famous one where I think Dakota Kai turns on. No, it's not. That's what it was. Candice Dakota. Rhea and Tegan, versus Bianca, Io, Kaylee, and Shayna Baszler. Pete Dunne versus Priest and Killian Dain in a freeway.
Okay, that's what it was. That one.
Finn Balor versus Riddle, and then that War Games match where Kevin Owens is the surprise 4th entrant for the Team NXT.
And when he was announced, I don't think I've ever heard a crowd just get so excited. That was like my first time being at in the event, because I went a lot when I was like younger, but I would go to like a Raw and a SmackDown. So like this was like my first ever because that was my first ever pay-per-view weekend. So Survivor Series, my first ever pay-per-view I went to. So this was kind of my first pay-per-view, and it was just like when his music hit and he came out was just insane. But yeah, no, it was the Finn Balor Riddle match is what it was. I don't know why I was thinking of. But yeah, Finn Balor and Riddle.
I'm not a big Riddle fan, and he's on both New York and
that Survivor Series. I always have a little piece of love for Riddle, so you know. But I understand why
he's
people
okay in
don't like
NXT, but just as soon as you get my main roster, I was just like,
I
I'm
know.
kind of done with him now.
So bad.
Yeah,
But
I'm on NXT's side of that. I didn't feel with Riddle's character on the main roster. Okay, bro, fair enough. But the stuff on his own, yeah, it didn't quite work for me.
it
But
just it's sad it
but-
didn't though, because he could have been like, and we saw like when he had the rivalry with Thatcher and everything else like that, like it was just, but yeah,
absolutely.
That's another
Well, it is indeed, because we're over the 2-hour mark, and I need to answer the question myself: is it the best takeover ever? So we got one that says yes, one that says, well, let's be fair, War Games 2019, and I understand your reasons, Tino, for that one as well. It's a hell of a show. It's definitely in the top sort of few ones anyway. I think Brooklyn 2015 is in the conversation as well, along with New York, but I'm going to take it out and say, yes, I do think this is the best NXT takeover ever. It was the one I was most looking forward to seeing again. The fact is, like I said, it's a near on perfect show from top to bottom, and for me, there isn't, like NXTeve said there, Adam Cole losing after like couple of moves when Gargano kicked out of like so many different ones. It's a bit overkill.
Ridiculous.
It's a bit overkill. So yeah, I'm gonna say yes. I think this is the best takeover ever. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, share with a friend, and subscribe as well. We've got now about 6 comments we've got before we finish off the stream, and then we're going to wrap things up from there. So the first one I'm going to do, very quick answer this. Am I a West Ham United fan? Yes, I am, through good and through bad times. Some were bad this week.
Always stick with your teams.
Sorry?
I said you always got to stick with the teams, no matter how bad they are.
Absolutely. We hopefully can change it tomorrow. CD says Johnny Gargano's OG theme song hits different. The new one's growing on me, but the OG is goated. I much prefer the OG one.
I turned my music up. I was listening to because I was watching the pay-per-view in my car. I turned the music out. I had my Bluetooth on. I turned it up. I was like, I just want to listen to it real quick. I'm like, yeah, it's not the same.
I'll tell you what. For anyone out of interest, go on the WWE YouTube channel, right? And they've just put up a guess the rest of the theme tune from the Ruthless Aggression era. My God, I knew none of them. Like they're throwing out like Reverend Devon and stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, I knew none of them. That was kind of like the time I tuned out, when Jack Swagger was doing his thing, and I was like, nope,
Jack
not
Swagger.
for me. But yeah, check it out, man, because there's some really bad. There's a Randy Orton one in there, and I'm like, I've never heard this before in my life.
Me and my friend did one, and I think we got like a 40% or something like that. It was like an actual quiz we found, and like we just did not do good. We thought we'd know everything, and it was not a good time.
There you go. It's goated. CD, we agree with you. And we've got 2002 is an era I'd like to go back and do a show on at some point. So people keep an eye out for that one if they come in the polls somewhere. Who had the better career, Johnny Gargano or Tommaso Ciampa? Obviously, neither careers have ended yet, so it's kind of up to this point.
I was going to say, wait, like NXT career? I feel, like...
I think NXT career is where CD's going with this. So, Tino, I'll let you start.
I feel like Tommaso... I feel like they both had their own different ways, but I feel like Tommaso, just because he won the championship more and he had that title reign and everything, but... I mean, I feel like they had it in their own way. I mean, Johnny still got over. He was Johnny wrestling. He was like, the rivalry that he had with Tommaso was great. Like, he won the North American title too.
Champions, though. Yeah, Johnny's one of the few Triple Crown champions, though. So I think you have to go with Johnny on it. Like for me, I'd personally say Tommaso because I love Tommaso Ciampa, but you have to admit, I think it is Gargano because he's a Triple Crown.
I would go with Gargano. Yeah, I love the North American title runs as well as the world title runs, the DIY partnership with The Way. There's lots of different things they've done with him.
That's right. That's right. The Way was in NXT too. That's right. Like right at the end before it all. Like that's crazy. That
faded away.
Yeah. Whatever happened to Dexter? I know that's off topic real quick, but what happened to Dexter? Did he like disappear? I saw him on the PD show like a month ago, and that was it.
Creative hiatus. Nothing planned for him at the minute. Maybe one day, but not at the minute. CD says this was Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa's second match. Of course, they won. Johnny won the first 2 matches, then Ciampa won some. Obviously, they had the Cruiserweight Classic match, of course, back in 2016, which had 0 heat on it at the time. But obviously, they built a great story with this one. And just to finish things off, then the last question of the show, Ken asking a very super hard question. If you was a wrestler, what would your wrestling name be? NXSteve.
The Unenthusiastic Brawler.
I like it.
The one that came to the top of my head was Tino the Crusher.
I like it.
I don't know. that would be an interesting one. I've actually thought about that. I'm like, well, what would my
wait, hang on. It's WWE, so you have to have 2 first names. That's a certain. So I'm gonna go with Steve.
Steve. Instead of the one dude that was on NXT, you're Steve now.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll take the same similar style, but I'll do like a Bull Buchanan and like instead of B squared, I'm S squared. There we go.
S squared. That's a good question, Ken. I like that.
It's a good question. Yeah, I like it. Not got a good answer for it, but it's a great question. And it's a perfect way to wrap up the stream here today. So everyone, thank you very much for all your comments. If you can hit a like button to support this channel, it's really appreciative. Really helps the channel grow and helps continue more content coming on this channel. If you like the content, hit the like button, leave comments at the end of the videos. You know more content will be coming on the way because it helps share the love of this channel a bit further. I want to say a big thank you to 2 special people as well as our chat. I want to say a big thank you to Tino on Tino's Time on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to his channel, and as well NXSteve, because not only have they took the time 2.25 hours to come and talk about this show, they spent 3 hours watching it. That's quite a lot of time out of a day for me on this channel. So I do appreciate it massively.
Hey, no problem, man. Yeah, that's why I said we had the 8th day. We have so much more time.
Greatest NXT pay-per-view ever, man. Happily spend 3 hours watching that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Made time go by faster. It made work go by pretty quick today. I was like, let's go.
There you go. That's what it's all about. Well, I'll tell you what, Tino will be back there on his channel for Dynamite. I think that will actually be in probably about an hour from now.
Yeah, 55 minutes. It's actually our last AEW Dynamite live stream, unless there's any specials, as I'm changing the schedule up a little bit in November. So make sure to come and hang out. We won't be live every Wednesday night, at least for Dynamite anymore. So come and hang out.
Well, hang out with Tino. Hang out with Tino, because I can promise you he is live all the time. He probably was live right now whilst doing the stream. There's always a Tino live stream.
I was thinking about just going live on my channel too, so everybody can hear me talk about we could just mix it up.
Could have done it. We wouldn't have seen us though, I don't think, but it still could have been fun anyway. But anyway, it's been exactly, yeah. Just mute when we come on. It's been a lot of fun anyway, Tino, to have you on this. Thank you so much as always, man. Absolute star. NXSteve as well. Massive thank you as well there. And make sure to keep voting in the polls when we put them up for future shows as well. A couple of nice surprises will be coming on the way for the next couple of shows, so keep an eye on the community post, and we'll let you know when they will be coming on the channel. But look after yourselves and each other. This was our New Orleans Takeover review, the greatest NXT Takeover ever. Well, 2 out of 3 of us say yes. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know now in the comments below. And why not check out some more videos on the channel right now?